odds move closer, burnt with the deepest red. Beneath them we look on, when they part comes the hatred they bring. Lost in the dark, we've come so far, another step to rid the pain. Go and be counted till your last day, 'cause only nightmares break their face. So stand upon these fallen lands and follow in our Father's plans. Yeah, until the end we will remain, and we'll hold on until our last breath. So what is to be left for us? My people look on and say, don't fear what you don't know, 'cause we're far from certain fate. And we'll make our final stand. Lost in the dark, we've come so far, another step to rid the pain. Go and be counted till your last day, 'cause only nightmares break their flames. So stand upon these fallen lands Hold on, the reckoning on to what we love. Risk the fall, or we have felt it all come crashing down from far above. Stars are rising, countless worlds colliding, only one will take it all. Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we make the final call? We are the ones to ignite the darkened skies, the champions of the world that we defy. A solo ride of the few who rise up high, and we all fight at the last light.
Awakened in ruins to the echoes of pain. Vi sörger, vi sörger. Cold and empty, lifeless remains. Vi sörger, vi sörger. Fields of the fallen and blood washed in rain. This cannot be all that will be. So you have torn this world apart. You came for our suffering. So bleed, cut us deep, find the death that you seek. But just remember, remember. So bleed, cut escape, find the death that you see. Just remember, just remember. We retreat, but we won. Those that die unforgone. Just remember.
我知道你在想什么。
战胜他，并证明自己，击败强大的对手。
竞技体育要分出输赢，
想让自己更进一步吧。感觉人就是太难了。
冠军让全世界的人都知道我的存在。
想要在这个赛场上面奋斗，我一直打下去。
距离上次拿到银龙杯过去多久了
3年。
3个月，心情非常开心吧。
一切都是很平常的一件事情，就是感觉胜权在握了。拿第一个冠军可能是运气或者怎么样，我觉得拿第二个冠军就是自己有实力。
下一次捧起银龙杯会是今年夏天吗？
因为春季赛输了决赛嘛，这次夏季赛的目标就是冠军。
谁不想？
任何冠都没有用。
但是我的目标还远不止于此。
所有人都想成为冠军，但是冠军只有一个。你会为此付出超越其他人的代价吗？
已经走不掉了，最后决经理369先收到高了，再交闪现出去。
我不认为这是代价。
能跟我的队友一起战斗，这就是最开心的事情。
5个人一起去跨过困难。
我相信我的队友，我的队友也相信我。
这银龙杯我不是一个人可以举起来的。
向共同的目标去努力，去并肩作战。没有最好的个人，只有最好的团队。 一起战斗吧！
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the LPL Regional Qualifiers, the last chance to qualify for Worlds this year. I am Lara Lunardi, your host, and today I am joined by a lovely desk consisting of Jamada and Lyric. How are you guys doing this morning? Hello.
I am just super excited because we have worked together for years in the LPL. I play-by-played for your color once, and we finally get to actually meet and work together in person.
Yeah, you know, separated by technicality yesterday.
Separated by fate, some would say.
By fate.
But here
right.
today, finally, I'm super excited to be with you.
Well, I'm glad to be part of this reunion between you two. As you know, today we have LNG versus Weibo Gaming. Weibo coming back from yesterday's incredibly tough match for them against BLG, who ended up lifting the trophy. Congrats again, BLG. Yes, as you can see, it was a convincing 3-0 from the team. What do you guys make out of that?
I think just extraordinary by BLG. I think when you look at the start of the year and even the start of the split, definitely coming in just as overwhelming favorites. It looked shaky for a bit there, but great to see by the time playoffs overall came around, they found their form. And especially in finals, Jamada, we see you and the guys' reaction on the casting table. And it's like, yeah, I mean, just dominance across the board. Knight finding solo kills, solid in the 2v2. Vin still stepping up. And yeah, it was just great to see.
Yeah, I think all the pieces really just came together for BLG. Everything that we'd come to expect from them, from their general dominant performances from last year moving into this year, it finally felt like it was consistent throughout this series. I think this game 3 here was the only game it felt where BLG were kind of pushed, and I think that's a lot of the Weibo factor where, you know, individually players are stepping up. Xiao Hu was stepping up finally. Breathe as well was finally kind of getting a bit more freedom. Light too, so or Crisp, sorry, rather in particular. Like, it was MVP level almost performance. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to pull through and actually win that third game, bring it to a game 4 at the very least. I think they ended up dying on a mid wave, and it was just kind of game over from what felt like a pretty random point in the game.
And it was cool to see from both teams, right? Weibo willing to go into the mud in that third game. And it's great to see BLG, whether it's like a clinical stomp or another team is willing to go like the 2 kills per minute, they can come out ahead either way. And we all saw the Bard, and we all saw the cheeky smile with the trophy lift.
Yes, absolutely. That man stood there strong, knowing exactly what he did. Well, I mean, sad news for Weibo Gaming, but they still have a shot at making Worlds, and because BLG took the trophy yesterday, Top Esports also qualified for Worlds. So, well, if you're a Top Esports fans, I guess that's a happy news for you. If we can take a look at the Worlds Explainer, Medic actually broke it down perfectly for us. We're gonna bring it up so you guys can understand how the World Championship is going to work this year. So take it away, Medic.
Worlds is heading to Europe for 6 weeks of high-stakes international play where we will once again crown the best team on the planet. The format this year is very similar to last year's, but there are some key changes. Here's everything you need to know. Worlds 2024 will include 20 teams from around the globe, facing off in 3 stages: play-ins, Swiss, and knockouts, all culminating at the grand finals to determine the winner of the pinnacle of esports competition.
Are you not entertained?
Play-ins will kick the tournament off in Berlin with the first and second seeds from VCS and PCS, the first seed from LLA and CBLOL, and the third seeds from LEC and LCS. These 8 teams will be drawn into 2 best-of-3 double elimination brackets. The winners of each bracket will move on to the Swiss stage. In the lower bracket, teams with a 1-1 record from opposing brackets will play against each other to fight for the last 2 advancement spots. That means 4 teams in total move on to the Swiss stage. Those 4 teams will join the top 2 seeded teams from LEC and LCS, as well as the top 4 seeds from the LPL, the winners of MSI Gen G, and the remaining top 3 seeds from LCK. These 16 teams will be drawn into an initial 8 best-of-1 matches based on their seeding. Following the first round of play, there will be another draw for the second round to pair teams with the same record against one another. The tournament will repeat this process for 3 more rounds of play, pitting teams with even records against each other until they reach 3 wins to advance or 3 losses to be eliminated from competition. New this year, teams will not be placed into rematches against previous opponents. While the initial rounds are best of 1, all advancement and elimination matches will be best of 3. After 9 days of interregional play where every match matters, 8 teams will move on to the knockouts.
These guys came to fight!
In the knockout stage, those 8 teams will head to Paris and make their way through a best of 5 single elimination bracket, delivering the thrillingly high stakes of Worlds we expect. No blinking, no second chances, leading us to the biggest match of the year on November 2nd, the grand final at the O2 Arena in London, to discover the 2024 World Champion. You can follow all the action from September 25th to November 2nd on lolesports.com, and be sure to log in to collect drops and be eligible for watch rewards.
What kind of League of Legends are we watching, good lord?
All right, guys, it does look like the players are already pretty much on stage and good to go. So we are going to go into Champ Select and talk a little bit about, you know, what LNG and Weibo are going to bring to us today. So, guys, what are we expecting to see?
Honestly, after yesterday from Weibo,
yeah,
I hope just pure shenaniganry, a lot of difference, and we're already jumping in. Good to see, especially in my mind, the Ashe takeaway coming out for Gala. Just obviously a great champion to be able to start setting up those picks. And I mean, the Renekton love's still going strong, Jamada.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's kind of interesting to see Gala pick up the Ashe. Not necessarily a stranger to it, but I think whenever you see, you know, Gala in these kind of situations, you want him on slightly closer to hyper carry type champions. But we'll see how he handles it. I'm kind of happier that it's going to potentially put Light in a position where he's very uncomfortable in the bottom side. Light's normally the one on these kind of utility picks. And in that sense of utility, going to be on the Ezreal, waiting to kind of hit that 2-iron mark, nullify what he can inside that laning phase and really try and take over the game in the mid stages. I think now with LNG in the position they're in, they need to try and match mid through Scout. In terms of the bans, no Yone available, so I'm still expecting an AD mid, and there we are, we're going to get the Smolder. So we saw how the matchup kind of played out yesterday. Still has to take a bit of a back foot in comparison to when we see Smolder into Zeri, but that's just the nature of the Corki matchup.
Yeah, and you know, it would be pretty wild if we did see Smolder getting some solo kills early on like yesterday. But honestly, I really like what LNG is bringing out so far, especially that Ashe going up against all the poke that Weibo are bringing to the forefront. I feel like Weibo definitely going to need to start leaning into a bit more disengaged to be able to comfortably play out against what LNG are going for.
Yeah, I think yesterday as well we saw a really good use of like a combination of picks between things like Cassante and Zyra, and then even, you know, typically an engaged support that was being just used in a much more defensive setup. So I do wonder if LNG are going to take that into consideration, and once they hit this second ban, also take out that Zyra alongside the Leona, which is already gone. But also think about things like the Alistar for Crisp yesterday were really, really successful, you know, in vacuums. For now, though, Weibo going to answer out with the Braum, so it looks like to me Weibo definitely have an idea if they want a melee support in the bottom side for sure.
Yeah, and like you said, I think good call. Crisp always looking a bit better when on something like the Alistar where you have both modes of disengage, but also being able to start the fight for your side. I like the Leona takeaway, but now for LNG, I kind of wonder where Weiwei's going to want to go himself. There's the Alistar ban they were talking about, but they could just look for that Zyra for themselves.
Yeah, I wonder if that's what they're thinking here, and I wonder if Weibo are going to kind of read into this as well. LNG at the end of the day, they're going to land on an AP jungler, no matter how you slice it. Maokai is also still up and available as kind of that sort of middle ground of, hey, you know, I can go Leandries if I need to, or then go tank. You know, the tree champions in the minute, very, very dominant. But again, it's kind of up to Weibo. So they remove away the Maokai. They don't want LNG to have the slow rolling engage on top of the Ashe Arrow. So is it just going to be Zyra? No. They just completely ignore jungle for now. Happy to blind support. And I think with the amount of support bans gone, that also does make a fair amount of sense. Get a little bit of prior on it now and just see if Crisp even has anything left. Only thing really I can think of something like the Rakan.
Yeah, and especially just the Rel in and of itself. I know it's just been so good in playoffs so far. Again, just how quickly it could come with those snap engages. Does even really give champions like Ezreal or Corki time to be able to use their gap closers to get away.
Let's see now. Weibo. Nidalee for Tarzan? No.
I was going to say, I feel like
the timer was so short, I thought it was going to be a last-second lock-in. But yeah, there's a Zyra who kind of expected it. Again, we saw yesterday how powerful this combination of, you know, Ezreal Corki being able to self-peel plus all of the, you know, kind of terrain, air quotes, terrain control via Zyra, and of course Cassante can have. Crisp, again, the support options are so limited. I think he's probably going to have to lean on to, you know, this Rakan if they want the kind of engaged, disengaged style. Or we get a Poppy, which I like this because in some ways Weibo are lacking super duper early damage. Poppy, while she works obviously as a very strong disengage support and a bit of a playmaker in the early game, her base damage is nothing to scoff at either.
Exactly. I mean, hell, we've seen many times Tarzan was Tarzan originally the person really stomping that in jungle, but Crisp now going to be able to show his hand on it. Bran, though, going to be able to come through, and hell, Enchanted Crystal Arrow into just Bran combo, going to be able to completely one-shot the carries on Weibo's side.
Well, I honestly think both drafts are pretty exciting. A little bit scared about Bran as always, but I do love to see the Poppy. I think we are ready to see the action. So please, casters, take it away. Trouble, if you're there, hello.
Hello to you too.
Well, the rest of us.
I'm Trouble, joined by Namera and Mazel.
I guess so. You play-by-play today too. We're gonna go with that.
You do not want to hear play-by-play, trust me.
Welcome one and all to the LPL Regional Qualifiers. I couldn't be more excited to get this kicked off. It's gonna be 3 best-of-5s over 3 days to decide who our 2 added seeds are to our 1st and 2nd seeds here in the LPL. Game 1, we've already seen the draft a little bit. I do want to get your guys' take on the general consistency between Weibo and LNG and what we're going to be seeing in this game number 1, and that consistency word might not be the case.
That's the thing. What is consistent is we tend to go the distance between these 2 teams. The last 5 series have gone all the way, whether that's best of 3 or best of 5. I really like that we do have a lot of agency for both junglers as well, given their importance in the history between these 2 teams, swapping teams coming into this year.
And the biggest question is Weibo Gaming come through a crushing defeat from those finals. They had a couple of hours, not even a day, to recover and show what they can do here.
Well, we're getting into game 1 now. The deciding of the fate on who will be our 3rd seed for the LPL starts now. little bit more synced up than yesterday. I like it, but more so, I love to hear those drums. I love to hear the energy in that arena. And we know it well, Nymera, but it is incredible to feel it through the mics here.
There's something really special about going into an arena. Hi, how's it going? Do you feel that bass just hit you right in the body there as well? Just everything happening in the arena, whether that's the drums or the various ultimates coming out of the champions.
We've had so many different picks as well coming into this series. I'm bringing us back into the draft. I feel like so many supports were banned out. The Rel, one of the most prominent supports, being the only one left in, snatched away by Hung right there. And I would love to see what Grisp can actually do with this Poppy. We've consistently seen On and Mako gravitate towards that Poppy and actually being all over the map, which is a lot of the ways that Weibo managed to win their games.
And I think particularly looking at yesterday's games, look, there's not a great amount to take away for Weibo, sadly. But the one thing you can say,
come on!
One thing you can say, Game 3, Crisp had an absolutely steaming game. Fantastic on that analysis.
Everyone needs a redemption game.
But if that was it, and we get to see Crisp in really good form, hey, maybe that can mean an awful lot. I think that given that we do see Weiwei heading down towards bot side as well, as a potential of something erupting in that bot lane after the first clear.
I know the desk had already talked about it, but this jungle matchup is so interesting, not only for what is happening on the Rift itself, but just the swaps, the legacy between these two players. I mean, the fact that Tarzan wasn't even playing in spring and we get to see him here at the highest highs in the LPL, obviously falling a little bit short as is tradition for him yesterday, but really nice to see the stories continue here. And speaking of, I think we're going to have to see where these resources are going to be delved out. It looks like a little bit of an opposite side focus for both these two teams.
Yeah, absolutely. You see Weiwei towards the top side of the map. And I felt like every time I see Zara, usually they tend to gravitate towards that bot lane, you know, walking down that towers, throwing out their E and seeing if that route does land, then a lot of flow comes through, potentially threatening the dive as well. However, it's not going to be the case for neither of those junglers so far. They're fast clearing the entire jungle to the opposite sides.
And I think particularly now when you look at the jungles and you put the nameplates on and saying, well, okay, normally Zara goes towards bot side. Well, is there a difference?
Yeah.
Look, we are talking about Tarzan. Tarzan, as he does mess up a little bit of the double leash there, but hey, Tarzan is one of the most creative jungle pathers that we have in the LPL, and for those of you, of course, remember him back at last Worlds, there's a little bit of a tainted memory there because of the way that he, on LNG, got demolished by T1 last Worlds. He's looking to make his way back towards that stage and kind of redeem himself a little bit for that last international.
I feel like there's so much redemption in general for Tarzan. He has 3 LCK finals, always second. He now has 2 LPL finals. Also second, Ashahu taking the pain onto Scout. I feel like he's learned of the Smolder matchups yesterday versus Knight.
A little bit there, but he's also getting like ridiculous amount of pressure in mid lane, which both these teams love to utilize, and that's where we can kind of talk about the influence. We're seeing it with the flash coming out, Xiaohu getting away. Now Weiwei's in trouble here. We might get first blood going over, and it's of course gonna go to Weibo.
Of course, I had to start with the junglers when they switched between these two teams coming into these years.
Oh, Tarzan is in a little bit of trouble here. You got a little bit of call it on a week, and there you go. Scout gets the return.
I feel like we're seeing whoopsies from both of these junglers, overextending, overstaying their welcome right there. Zika was already spotted by Tarzan in the jungle, and Weiwei diving too far forward ends up getting punished. Both junglers end up dying, but there is a kill on the side of Tarzan. This is very important for Weibo Gaming, as he's one of their primary carries.
And I think particularly now that both junglers have lost their flashes, that can be something that we can return to. So you go into this again, you're saying, well, okay, maybe it's overforcing and overstaying. Well, this is the overforce, as Weibo goes for the QE flash, doesn't land the stun. You land the stun there, yeah, you probably do kill. You can get the red buff ticking, but then you've used your flash, and then you get punished for that. So Tarzan, he's then flashing forwards, and then he's the one that somehow overstays after the suit. As soon as you see Scout on that wave, you have to back off there. It's a very cheap kill to give back, and sadly for Tarzan, we were just saying very, very creative path there. That's the wrong kind of creativity, folks.
I mean, technically, you don't even have to see Scout on that wave. He has teleport, he has just died. He's bound to come back for revenge.
There was a lot of plants there, right? I can get it. There's 3 plants that Zyra had. I mean, that's a little bit of a
Those
motivator.
had friends,
yeah,
exactly.
Unfortunately, there was a croc in the river, and that never works out. But I do want to think about now with these first little bits going down and a little bit more resources going over to Scout. We have seen that the Smolder is a little bit of an insurance policy. So how are we feeling about this mid lane matchup itself and how it impacts?
Well, now you have the early kill on Smolder. It makes things much, much more easy. You've got a Cole stacking up. Yes, Corky's doing the same on the other side, but just getting a good first back for a champion that's not meant to be that present in lane is really, really important. We'll see what build Scout goes towards. He'll probably be picking up a tier at some point soon. Getting that early goal just gives you the laning items you need.
My question right here for Scout is that primarily we don't see LNG playing through those kind of AD carries over in the mid lane. Hold on, now
Oh,
hold
the
on.
wall bang! Look at the support action coming through. And of course, Chris picks it up too in the end. The Poppy is making its name known.
LNG might not be playing through those AD carries mid, but Weibo Gaming is. Chris makes the roam work all the way from that bot lane. And what we're saying is, how are they going to use Scout on a side lane, which is primarily how LNG have been winning majority of the games. Scout on that smolder, on a side lane, extremely volatile. So I'm looking forward to see potentially the team fight LNG what's going to be bringing in here.
Weiwei not level 6. Remember, both junglers don't have flash. Chris could look for a wallbang here if Weiwei does miss position. Light is going to be safely picking up farm here, though. As for once, the trigger is actually not pulled this early game.
Reservation, you know.
He's already done it. He's done.
Folks, based purely off of vibes from what we've seen in the first few minutes, look, LNG are not the most active team ever. We've made many jokes at their expense before in terms of, this glacial team, they're coming out of the turtle shell. Look, I'm not saying it's not effective, but we do like to have a bit of a laugh on for it occasionally. But look at this early game. 3 kills in the first opening stages of this game. The trigger has been very readily pulled.
And I know this is something you really like to talk about, Trouble, in terms of Crisp's impact. We're already seeing this Poppy pay off dividends and trying to see that momentum continue as well.
I feel like a lot of the times it's double-edged sword, right? He either goes too aggressive or not, and right here he's looking at Hunt.
The Grubs are up. We're getting the flash play coming in here. They're all on Tarzan. Here comes Mom to help, and he just needed a little bit of familial support there for LNG.
There was no flash on Tarzan. Amara mentioned it earlier on. You're looking at those two sitting duck junglers on the Brand and the Zara. Whoever gets engaged on ends up going down. Tarzan pays the price for walking too far forward.
Get a little bit of top lane action. Nothing else going to come of it, though. We did get the dominance pop Isaac, but he's going to just try to get that priority in lane.
So LNG walk away with 3 grubs, and yeah, we've seen so much punishment between these two junglers blowing those flashes early. Weiwei and Tarzan both blowing it in those early stages of that mid lane play. See if there's anything more to come of that.
Oh.
Still a noodle fight.
Still the noodle fight.
The gift that keeps on giving
What color noodles do they have? Is it like the teal blue
hang
one?
on. Yeah, there are different. I know they're
teal blue noodles.
Okay.
Do you not have like neon colored pool noodles?
What?
Oh, pool noodles.
Pool noodles.
You said noodles, so I thought it was like.
What I refer
thought like
to
the
as
food.
noodles.
I thought like actual noodles is what I refer to as noodles.
No. Pool noodles is what I
Wait,
refer
the
to.
whole
when it's
world
two
has
top
shattered.
laners.
You thought of the carb as well, right?
Yeah, I was thinking the carbohydrates. I know you get like you get like the squidding noodles, like the.
Oh yeah, the
there's
colorful
probably
noodles.
more relevant things to talk about here as we go back into this mid lane. Scout had double burst, but this is right back to the wallbang on mid, where Crisp, we said, hey, he had a great series, great game 3 yesterday,
There you go.
despite the 0-3. Can he make a difference from something like this Poppy? Yes, they can.
Oh, now they're looking towards the Renekton, and Zika doesn't have his ultimate, but you don't have a lot of CC within the Corki and the Cassandra to try and dive a Renekton with flash up, and Weiwei was also around to defend his top laner.
I love that Gala was trying to get an influence with that bristle arrow across the map, just trying to make something happen. That's going to be super important as we move forward, and that's what I want to talk about, the approaches for both these two teams. I think there's a lot of go buttons on the side of LNG that are going to make fights a lot easier to pull off around objectives.
Yeah, they do have a lot of go buttons, but there's a great amount of disengage for the side of Weibo. So it will, I think this game, as we go into it, will be, and we've seen this a lot through playoffs too, this isn't an isolated case. The team with the go buttons needs to make sure that they catch the Zyra in the gauge. If Zyra manages to ult, that's a problem. If Cassandra manages to stand in front of your engage, that's a problem. And also, if Poppy manages to eject one of the key pieces, that's a problem too. So watch to see if LNG can catch the carries and avoid the disengage.
Also, the Weibo gaming carries, apart from the Zara, are extremely slippery. Both have very easy ways of getting out of any danger and play from super far away. Lots of ball coming through the Corki and the Ezreal. So technically, 2 of the safest AD carries that you have.
We're actually seeing Chris continue to be a presence on the map. Tarzan's going to try to get in here, and it'll end up going over. So that's actually really big in terms of tempo, because there hasn't been a dragon taken, and we're almost at 10 minutes now, but it hasn't been about that focus. We're going to readapt for the grubs on the other side, I'm sure.
Now, here's the funny thing. Weibo gaming love taking the fight to you. They'll try to find skirmishes, the 2v2s, the 3v3s, roam Crisp around the map, because the 15-minute mark that we've been joking about is so important to them. Being ahead at that 15-minute mark allows them to push their advantages further. They haven't been able to come back for deficits very easily, so that early game is very integral to how they play to advance into a win.
Okay, so we're getting Dragon taken now. Is there anything going on to Gala? No. He has his arrow. He could start a fight around bot side if he wanted to. And then what I'm really looking for now is that next grub fight. It's Tarzan.
They're going over the wall. That's a huge play from Hung, and they just completely dogpile Tarzan. Scout gets another one, and now Crisp is getting slowed down, and he's going to be able to use the charge to get out.
Tarzan has the flash. He just can't use it. We just pointed out that Asher used on cooldown, and Gala gets himself at least that threat onto that boss. I sadly can't get, much of an impact on that one, but just having that ability to start fights there and punish these squishy junglers has been the tale of this early game so far.
One of the most important things, Scout with 3 kills, 10 minutes in already, making sure you accelerate that smolder through. As we're gonna watch this one more time, Tarzan, he has been spotted being in that dry brush, and as you can see, LNG are pretending they do not care about him. Once the plant goes down and there is no vision, he gets engaged upon, changes the scene, doesn't get to
He sees Hung in the Dragon Pit. He sees it just with the death of that ward. Wow, I'm so surprised that he stood there. He had his flash.
The fact that Scout getting a little bit of revenge on his old teammate there, but we're actually going to see Pete go into a 1v2 that he didn't know was a 1v3. Does have a little bit of support up here, but the grubs have already been started by Weibo.
Grubs have been started, no Asher, importantly. Bree taken down a little bit low. He's stunned, that's a problem.
Oh, they're going to go with the flash play. Chris goes right back in. TP coming back in. Stranglethorn's going to be used to separate, but Tarzan is already gone. No jungler for Weibo means this fight is so hard, and Scout is just picking up the stacks here. He is not afraid, and I love to see it from a little dragon.
And that means that we're going to see LNG being able to get more than those 3 grubs. They'll get the might buff after this point too. The early game from LNG has been really, really impactful at picking off these first people in those fights really, really well. This time it's Breed somehow. He's meant to be the tanky front line even early into the game on that Cassante, but the rest of the team of Weibo weren't there at the right time. Scout might be getting ganged up a bit here. He's a little careful of that long. Should be walking into the long grass.
He knows. He got the explosion for the two, but now he flashes out of the charge at the perfect time.
That was so well played. They both dodged. They were both sitting at the edges of this rush, so that didn't end up hitting anyone. It doesn't give the bell to Scout that he actually hit anyone. And right here, Weiwei is looking towards top. Shahu, Chris though, is sticking around. There is no flash into the smolder, so they need to babysit for a while to make sure that he is able to push out that lane state.
I love that they're just trying to keep pressure here, but really the biggest thing for LNG is that they know Scout is the ticket forward. I mean, the man has 3 kills already on the smolder. See if they want to try to make a play up here. They are positioning for it and perfectly hit onto Xiaohu. He has to stand and watch as his life is taken from him.
The last time we saw LNG in this playoffs, they bombed out. LNG were the 2nd seed from our Ascension group, and they didn't deliver in playoffs. But coming into this first game, it's against Weibo. It's against one of their old teammates in Tarzan as well. This early game has been really, really good, and it's an early game which is getting Scout ahead on a scaling pick. This is all green lights. I'll go for the little dragon in the mid lane.
And I feel like we were joking about it earlier in the green room, how can they use Scout on a side lane if he's on a smolder? And Amir was like, well, let's just bring 3 players around him. Like, I'm not sure that's side laning anymore, but if it works, it works, right?
This is the mid lane now. It's geographically challenged.
What I love,
the new side laning.
What I love is that this does feel like a little bit of revenge from their last series, from their last outing.
And then once you go back to this replay as well, from what happened around this grub fight, which is of course very impactful, Weiwei just gets tons of value on this Brand. He gets a really good stun onto him. It forces Chris to all in, and yes, there's great damage onto Weiwei in return, but the fight has already started really before Weibo are ready for it. Gala's not there, and the damage isn't there with it.
And I feel like Weibo were just too split throughout this entire fight. Light was coming over from that mid lane, then Shahu TP's in way too late. And here we see the snipe all the way from mid lane that catches Shahu over towards the top side. 3 members around from LNG to punish.
And I love how he just backs off knowing they're not going to have a ward between my 2 turrets. I'll fire it out of Fog of War that way, because if he'd actually stayed up a little further, he would have been on a ward. Herald's now spawned, and particularly with the grubs being taken by LNG, 5 of them, they would need to really take that Herald to stop them from using it particularly effectively.
I do love that Weibo are not backing down. They are going to try to get out Hung. Now they got Crisp out of there as well with his health bar going down, but it is Tarzan who will secure that objective.
Very importantly, Hung has been starting every engage for LNG. He's been finding key players from the side of Weibo. Kim flung out. They're still looking for the poke.
A little bit of a long distance call there from LNG, but maybe ringing home a little bit too early. There is LNG just putting pressure on the mid lane to take that outer tower.
So that ult from Scout, 1, gets stacks. Yep. Nice, cool, hits with an ability, but 2, also just delays the defense of the mid turret and also delays some of the resets coming through from Weibo. Dragon's coming up in 10 seconds. LNG should be able to go back, get themselves into at least contesting that if they wanted to. Actually, with Scout going towards topside, though, maybe LNG just say, look, it's better to get that side lane goal onto the Dragon.
Isn't this so interesting, though? Because this has been the tried and true effect of LNG. They do lose Scouts in the side lane so often, but maybe he's getting punished now. Little Dragon can't get away from all the vines, and Xiaohu will strike right back.
That was also played perfectly by Tarzan right there. He puts the ult down first to ensure the knock-up. That ensures the ace. there's no flash onto Scout Smolder. And I love the play with the Herald right here. A lot of teams gravitate towards putting that down straight mid lane, dipping into River, taking the Dragon, but right here, you're showing a threat for 2 towers on the side of Weibo.
Hey, Chris, do you know you're on the right side? Maybe he does. He's got his teammates right behind him. He is not as tanky as maybe he thought he was, but Weiwei is trying to lay down. He's just mind controlling Weiwei right now. Ends up falling anyways to the man himself.
Now, here's a double-edged sword of Chris. I feel like he's one of the more creative supports when it comes to marking his territory, marking his enemies, walking the right lines, making sure he ganks early on. You can find him all over the map. Sometimes finding him all over the map might be a bad situation because you find him alone, such as LNG ended up punishing.
So we get to have like a Wes Wally equivalent of Wes Crisp across the map. Just like, oh, he's there in the red side jungle somehow.
I can see why he did it right there, right? We're talking about the threat of popping that referral towards the top, and you're threatening 2 towers. By Chris being too far forward, you could take both.
Hung was looking for an angle on the Breathe, but they realized he is a Cassante and he has a whole copy boss to put on him, but the Dragon has been started up by Weiwei.
Yeah, there was a really low priority on that. Tartan still has flash, doesn't quite have ult yet.
Chris is going to have his coming up very shortly, though, so can separate the fight. LNG want to stick around, but this is what I'm saying. Weibo are not afraid to put their body up here, as Enchanted Cristowero will go wide. Gala not going to be able to connect that one. About half health on the Dragon. Here comes Weibo, as they're going to try to separate with Chris, but LNG do back off enough. A little bit of poke from Light, but the Dragon will be secured by Weibo. Meanwhile, we got TPs at top. It's going to be switcheroonies. Oh, he stomps him! The monster has come to town, and he's looking to feed on some tiger skin as Xiaohu is gone. The Croc is eating good.
Before this, Weibo were in such a good position because they won what was effectively an isolated play on this bot side, while Xiaohu could keep pushing topside. He can't survive there. Gold gets picked up by Zucker, and Xiaohu goes down whilst also losing his flash. There would have been such a good way to get Xiaohu a lot of gold off the map. Sadly, can't get away with it.
Could actually get the re- Oh, he missed the little combo because of that steadfast presence. Obviously, Chris able to get away, but now Breathe is in maybe a little bit of trouble. They're going to try to collapse on this bottom side down here. We do see in the top side, a turret does go down to Zika. He's going to be there alone. Weibo are trying to make a play on bot.
Yeah, Weibo Gaming are in retreat mode right here. They've got bot lane getting pushed through. They got mid lane and bot lane pushed at the same time. They're trying to wrap around.
Yo, Breathe is just dying under turret here. Now you have that separation from Chris, and LNG are lacking bodies. The target is Scout. He's trying to get away, but the wall bang comes in clutch, and Tarzan picks up another.
These fights are so split and so frantic across the map right now. You can see that both these teams are just trying to go from one side of the map to the other side of the map very, very quickly. And this is not something which we know as much from LNG. This is more of a Weibo BLG style of play, where you're very quickly teleporting across the map, playing towards these isolated side lanes. LNG like to take things a bit more structured, a little bit more slow, and just overload Scout's lane. They've not really been allowed to do that, but they have still got a lot of golden pockets, so they're not too worried just yet.
Oh no, you're gonna do him like that? You're gonna give him the in. You know what? Had he started teleporting literally probably 0.5 seconds before that happened, he would have probably gotten the TP out. However, I wanted to double down on what Namera just said, because LNG have not been able to beat Weibo Gaming. They lost their previous series. However, you can take a book out of BLG's, you can take a page, out of BLG's book, which is when Weibo Gaming are looking to play aggressive on you, try to find the flanks and the skirmishes, take their map. You saw instantly pressure top lane, pressure mid lane, Gala all the way towards a mid lane tier 2. You have to respond.
Okay, so we're still just at the end of, just at the beginning of mid game. We're just at the end of that early game. We have Dragon coming up for 2.5 minutes. That'll be a little while, but we have, of course, Baron spawning in 30 seconds. LNG have themselves the gold lead, and they have themselves the grub lead as well. While they have that grub lead, they still also have a Renekton, which is doing quite well in the individual matchups. Zucker's really quite far ahead in the individual gold. I want to see how LNG play the next few minutes to just settle into these lanes, open up the map if they can around Zucker with this Renekton pushing in the bot side, hopefully. See that Breed's wave clearing quite well right now, but he's also 2 levels down.
Yeah.
I think that's what LNG can use to open up this map, slow things down a little bit more into their favorable style of play.
And that's what's wild, is there is that big XP difference in the side lane, but it also is bringing back the conversation, since we are so far into it, we're going to be getting to this big on 5v5s, that there are just more tools to initiate from LNG, but going back to maybe some of the avenues for Weibo, I mean, Tarzan and Chris are really the ones you look at, or maybe Breathe with a flank of some sort.
Absolutely, and I feel like for Weibo Gaming, it's very important to survive the initial engage. You've got the Poppy, you've got very slippery carries. Breathe. He's challenging Zika
watching
right
you,
there,
Breathe.
But
Don't
he
do
doesn't
it.
know. He's not challenging one. He's
Does he
challenging
know?
two.
He knows. He knows. Okay, he knows. There's a fireman in the bush.
This is something which LNG typically do with their solo laners instead of Weiwei. So in case you're not as familiar with how LNG have evolved over the course of this split, LNG really struggled in summer, but the way they started to break open games is overloading sidelines like this.
They're just going to get the all-out for Breathe. The turret goes down, but he is able to dash out. Pyroclasm got used on him, but here comes Xiaohu to clean it up. Weiwei is already down. Now Xiaohu looking with his sights set on Zika. They're going to see if they can add some more fuel to the fire. Enchanting crystal arrow! Gala is Robin Hood again! Scout picks up another one.
Through the entire map, and Weibo Gaming know that the TP was committed towards the top side of the map. No arrow tried to pull something with the Zara. Very powerful once you hold those plants up, but they get nothing on the map. The entire map came towards that bot side, and LNG coming clutch.
I'm really surprised that Weber didn't stick on that Baron. You just saw the teleport down bot side. And yes, maybe Zucker could teleport in. That's what you're worried about there, but there's no smite or anything. I'm really surprised that they didn't stick towards that. Weibo, they lose out on the cross-map play just about with some excellent accuracy coming through from Gala.
The Metal Horse Lady is very scary.
Yeah.
I just have to give so much praise to Gala. He was first team All-Pro. A lot of question marks around that. But the fact that we've seen him evolve into this multifaceted player, but his brain is just so big.
Look at this Pyroclasm, just bouncing off the wave again and again and again. Fantastic, follows through onto those minions, and I thought that would be the player of this moment. No, there is another one after this point. Gala really, really on point. Sights some downrange, finger on the trigger, lets it fly. Zucker comes up after that point. A Scout, of course, gets some more gold onto the small.
I'm not gonna lie, there's been some very unfortunate moments for Xiaohu this game. The TP that didn't end up completing, then he was Wing through that arrow but gets hit right at the tip. Unfortunate, but still the kills went down over to LNG.
Absolutely, and now we're looking at some of the payments out from that. We're on pretty much 2 items across the table, and Gala's looking for yet another one. That cooldown is going to be real short from here on out, but this is where LNG feel a little bit stronger. Obviously, that 3-item spike, a big point, but here we are.
And this is the point where I start getting worried about Weibo Gaming. When they are pinned, when they are shoved into a corner, they start making very irrational decisions. They start engaging on the first champion that they do see, and they are very rarely grouped up, which is what happened versus BLG. Now LNG, they do manage to get their engages onto split champions and take the summoners away as they've been doing so far. It should be more than safe to close this one.
And particularly if Weibo start getting a bit desperate in the way that, yes, we know they can do. The problem is, Weibo are the team which want to be playing disengage. They want to be saying, look, Cassante, press your W in front of that arrow or something like that. If they're the ones who start trying to snap engage, it's much harder for their comp to do so, and I feel like LNG now feel very comfortable. Now they've gotten under Weibo's skin a bit.
There is a timer, though, that we've been keeping an eye out here this whole time. We're getting to that culmination here for Scout, and I think that puts Weibo in an even harder position to deal themselves.
Very importantly, this is the strongest version you're going to see of the Renekton the entire game. The Sterax plus the Black Cleaver. When you've got double AD on your team as well, the extra penetration that will come through those team fights is going to be huge. Renekton is a massive threat on those 2 items, especially since he's about 1 level ahead at least of all the cards from the side of Weibo Gaming. So you are gonna, well, 2 right now, because you just need level 16, 3 points onto that ultimate. I feel like Zeka is gonna have to be scouted out in terms of TPing into Weibo's backline.
Yeah, they do have the tools to deal with him in a 5v5, and a 1v1 much less. So let's see exactly what Weibo can do to deal with him. Right now, it's send everyone into his lane is currently the
What's
play.
happening top lane at Baron?
I feel like Baron's been started, so Weibo now have to back off on bot side. The Baron's now stopped as well because Weibo they don't commit towards that bot side. You can see these mind games, right?
Yep.
Weibo want to stop that Renekton, but they don't want to give up the Baron, so it's a kind of a push and pull across the map.
Now it's all about mid lane prio, which Gala is going to unleash the arrow at some point on an unsuspecting victim, but it is LNG losing a little bit of that prio.
Weibo Gaming, they've got a clear objective on the mid lane tower.
You got Mom coming in. That's a big slow across multi-members, and now LNG just have a front to back, and Zika, he has made the back a wide open door of Weibo. He found the flank, and Weibo found literally nothing. That's a huge play from LNG, and Tarzan is just going to be run down into the dirt by LNG.
Weibo got themselves a finals. LNG were very much left out to dry in playoffs. But here in regionals, it really has been LNG striking first. It's been Scout striking first as these teams fight off, of course, for that 3rd spot. They'll take their prize of the Baron after the fight.
And the bigger question mark when we came into this particular series is that LNG were not necessarily known.
Oh, guys.
Gala's fine. They're not necessarily known for the big team fight potential, right? Whilst Weibo were pretty good at that, showcased it in the past. Now Scout, on something less than an engaged tool, like the Yone, like the Azirias, how was she gonna be used as a tool in this LNG lineup? And they're actually playing a pretty good front to back.
What you didn't see off camera there is as the HP bars drop lower and lower, Baron, Mazel's just there like, guys, please stop. Just trying to what is happening? Keep a hold on it as we're trying to let us speak about the analysis.
Wow.
But
Xiahou actually TP'd for that play right there to try and wrap around Zika, but they couldn't find him fast enough.
And this is the problem now. I think you can really see a bit of the desperation coming in from Weibo. They're trying to take a mid lane turret with as much damage as they can as the wave dies, but they overextend for it. Chris almost stops the engage, but he doesn't stop the Magnet Storm. He actually doesn't stop the dash. And Zucker gets a plant help there to get its first part of his E, unlocking the second part. Zara kind of betrays herself by giving the slice and the dice. That Zucker, Renekton, as you were saying, at the huge point of power, monstrous here in this fight.
I just want to quote someone. If you guys find it, you can add him on Twitter. This mid lane tower is only 112 gold. When you do not have the setup, when you do not have the setup, of course, to take that mid lane tower, and it costs you an entire team fight, a Baron, your entire map falling through, it is not worth to pretty much just go straight down mid lane and try to take it down. It costs Weibo Gaming everything.
And this is a slow but steady, massive lead for LNG, right? They're on 3 items now. They have everything they could ask for to try to close this game 1 out.
So LNG still have that Baron buff for a minute and a half. That should be at least one more turret. Might even be able to get themselves a second one after that teleport behind.
This is Weibo's chance. Desperation, it reeks of it, but maybe it's the moment of glory. We have Breathe on the flank. Baby's trying to make his own Zika play. There's Crisp separating out. This is looking good for LNG, but Mom maybe making a difference. Look at this though, Weibo. They've got flanked again. He's back, and it's for episode 2 as LNG are wiping the floor with them. Give him the penta. No, it's a quadra kill for Scout.
One last-ditch effort from the side of Weibo Gaming to try and flank the fight around, but LNG's team fight just comes out superior.
LNG were made to wait. They saw Weibo in those finals and thought, we'll have another crack at them. LNG strike first, and they strike hard.
They do indeed. Game 1 ends with a shebang, and LNG looking for revenge at their last series they had against Weibo, and they'll take that step forward. And here, the question becomes, can Weibo wake themselves up?
These teams have a sort of rivalry, which we kind of forget about sometimes, behind some of the big names like BLG and Top Esports of this year, or BLG and JDG of last year. Over the last 2 years, these two have knocked each other out of playoffs. They have gone the distance almost every time they've met. And you can see right here, yes, Weibo were the finalists, but LNG were the team that came into 2nd seed into playoffs, coming out of that Ascension group. This team has a lot to show, which they couldn't quite in playoffs.
And they did also give us a 5-game banger last time in the playoffs, with Weibo Gaming coming out clutch in this one. Now, the most important question that we went into this series with is Weibo Gaming okay? Are they okay after a 0-6 collective into BLG after losing those finals yesterday? They've only had a couple of hours to pull themselves together to prepare for that LNG matchup. And so far, even though at the beginning they went into it with a great fight, you know, crisp around the map, which is exactly what you want to see, they just couldn't quite close it out in that.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is it can't end like this for Weibo. They need to find something, right? You can't go out of your next 2 series, right, not finding a win. And I think that's where you rely on all that veterancy, all those star power that we had labeled out for them. But that is it for our game number 1. We're going to be sending it away to a little break, and we'll be back for game number 2.
涙よ星に瞬きを伝えて守るものがあるからきっと強くなれる語るべき言葉なくした星の守りでは時の果て夢の果て闇に立ちすくんだ
Hold on now.
Oh, the wall bang! Look at the support action coming through. And of course, Chris picks it up too in the end.
Rob fights Tarzan.
They're going over the wall. That's a huge play from Hung, and they just completely dogpile Tarzan. They're going to see if they can add some more fuel. Fire. Chantic's personal arrow to the fire. Chantic's personal arrow. Gala is Robin Hood again. It's the moment of glory. We have Breathe on the flank. Baby's trying to make his own Zika play. There's Chris separating out. This is looking good for LNG, but Mom maybe making the difference. Look at this, though. Weibo, they've got flanked again. He's back, and it's for episode 2 as LNG are wiping the floor with them. Give them the penta. No, it's a quadra kill.
用恶性的方式画世界。
Welcome back, everyone, to the regional qualifiers. LNG is one step closer, and
Yeah.
Weibo Gaming is yet struggling a little bit.
Honestly,
what do we make out of this?
This first game, I think, went completely different to how I would expect the first game to go.
Yep.
Even just like starting from early on, where we see both junglers getting involved in mid lane, we see Brand flashing, just trying to find his own stun, hitting combos, kills going back and forth. But I feel like the big thing that kind of set the precedent for the early game is the fact that a lot of these kills for LNG were going on to Scout, to where they were much more divided on Weibo's side. Tarzan getting a couple, Chris finding a few kills with some of his roams towards mid, and it really feels like the fact that Scout was the big beneficiary is what pulled this game in LNG's favor so heavily.
Yeah, I think just it's kind of the power of concentrated gold, right? It's actually a topic that's kind of prevalent right now in the community about like, hey, you know, a team can be up 3,000 gold, but if 2,000 of that gold is on like Ernecton into a poke company, never has access into the backline, that 2k is kind of useless. And to a point, this is kind of another kind of derived example of this, where Scout's always going to be useful on this Smolder. Any gold that goes towards Scout is good gold, whereas you split the gold kind of across multiple members here, whilst it's nice, in the case of LNG, they're able to very actively play around Scout, protect him and ensure that he's always able to get his damage out. And yeah, very consistently throughout this game, LNG just finding better suited team fights for themselves, as Weibo, with a lot of peel tools, never really stood their ground, able to actually set up and re-engage off the back of all of their elements.
I just feel so bad for Trouble because, you know, just singing Chris praise about how Chris needs to be the one to get things started for Weibo. He found some great early roams, or like even this trying to save Breathe, but it just really wasn't enough. And honestly, Weibo just looked very kind of panicked. They were playing very fast, over-committing to a lot of fights, but also, Laura, when you have arrows like that, call is just insane.
Yeah, I just think a general lack of like fundamental discipline out of Weibo this game is kind of what let them down. And it's a lot more on an individual level as opposed to a team cohesion level. And I think that's kind of more the argument because we never saw Weibo actively group together. So like, I think moving into this game too, need to see like more proactive plays where I'm seeing 3 or 4 people actually involved in said play. Because again, a lot of this game was broken up in tempo because of things like this. These Ash arrows pretty much constantly finding Xiaohu on the side lanes.
Yeah, I am wondering, you did mention to me before that you think that the Weibo before the BLG match might have looked a lot better against LNG today, and I just want you to break that down for me a little bit, because I do think that maybe there's a little bit more than just a panic that this team had.
I feel like we even saw it in this game where early on Weibo were really the ones trying to get a lot of things to happen, right? Whether it was when they started that grubs towards top side and we saw the play flip on its head, whether it's moving down through river and getting caught out. LNG weren't showing that same level of proactivity, decisiveness, matching punch for punch. Nymera even mentioned it on cast of like, hey, typically LNG aren't going for these plays, trying to match 5v5s, make plays on opposite sides of the map. It's a lot more about the checklist of like, you know, average, good Korean-style League of Legends kind of, right?
Yeah,
like,
no, very, very, very slow, very by the books. And,
exactly.
You know, again, Gala earning MVP, not surprised. Like, his Ash arrows throughout this game were what actually set up a lot of that slow gameplay, right? Weibo are trying to pick up the pace, find picks on side lanes, and is like, I guess we can react. We're LNG and then also an Ash Arrow just like completely stops Weibo in their place.
And we did have the pleasure of taking a look at the drafts, you know, before the game started. I'm wondering if you guys do think that this went, well, how it should have played, or if you actually think that maybe there's going to be, you know.
I mean, I think the biggest thing that was really great about this draft for the side of LNG was actually a lot more of the takeaways, I feel like, against Weibo. Even specifically actually the opening of the draft, there was Renekton, and there you go, Renekton and Ashe. And I think putting Breve in a position where he doesn't really get to be super proactive really hurts Weibo in terms of like their overall options in an early game. And then the takeaway of utility picking Ashe does so much to Light's champion pool, because the only thing I think he could have maybe answered that would have been a little bit better is the Varus.
Yeah.
Goes for the Ezreal instead, so that then sets your bot lane super behind in terms of tempo and priority most of the time in the early stages. And then again, in terms of setting up plays across the map, Gala was just executing far better. And of course, as the Ezreal, you're just waiting on a timer to actually be useful.
Exactly.
Q items is where you're going to find that mark.
Especially when Weibo typically have found success by being the team to overload one side of the map, start a fight on their terms. It's like, hey, a champion like Ashe would have been great for that. Now having, again, more of a disengaged poke style composition, Light now not going to get as much attention as Weibo usually gives him in the early game.
Right.
I think overall just great planning by LNG, and they were able to execute amazingly.
And now maybe draft and this game aside, when we are looking at Gala versus Light, what is you guys' take on this head-to-head?
So, like, coming into the series, even looking at the stats, these teams for Gala was much more about he doesn't get much attention in the early game. It's a lot about him trying to be that hero later on. LNG were never much of a team-fighting team, but if they did get to that point, Gala was the one, you know, dealing the most damage, getting the most gold to carry them over the line. To where for Light, it was a bit of the opposite. He's the one who was helping them find action and find picks in that early game. But again, we kind of saw that completely flip on its head in this game.
Yeah, I think just, again, the nature of that opening draft and kind of enabling Gala, like, through early lane via an Ashe pick to then also put Light behind. And also, I think, again, Weibo had the opportunity to put Light on a utility pick like Jhin, like Varus. It's not like it wasn't a possibility.
Yeah.
They just happened to opt for the Ezreal. And again, I think it stripped a lot of individual agency away from Light. And Gala was the one that was able to really dictate a lot of the pace of the mid-game plays once they started to happen and unfold.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm excited to see what they're going to come up for the next game. We are ready for game 2. Let's see if Weibo takes it. Let's see if LNG takes it. But world spot is at stake. So please, Nymera, this time to you.
Right, this is my big moment. I best not waste this. Hey, everyone.
This is like my one thing I get to do.
Well,
this is like the one thing.
I'm the play-by-play now. I'm Nymera, joined by Trouble and Mazel as we go into game 2 of this series. LNG struck really, really hard in the first game here. We know that this is a rivalry, actually, at this point, which does deliver, and we're into this draft very, very quickly.
As we do get into it, Weibo on the blue side yet again. We'll see those likely bans that we've seen time and time again of the Ziggs against the LNG team and the Lucian against the Weibo team. But I love the respect immediately paid towards Gala with the Ashe ban.
Big thing which I'm going to be questioning right now, LNG still on that red side. What happens with Corki now? Corki in the last series in LPL playoffs was absolutely demolishing everyone. But now we've seen the Corki get countered by the Smolder to an extent. Does that change the draft?
Now, there were a few picks right here that you guys mentioned, and a few that we didn't mention. The Ivern was first banned from the side of Weibo Gaming, and I'm thinking that it could potentially be sleeping through the cracks right here. Misfortune and Yone, not all three of those can get banned out. We'll see the Ivern gone through, and you talked about the Corki and the Smolder. I'm seeing a Yone that hasn't been banned so far.
There's only one ban left for LNG, but that's where I want to turn the attention to Weibo. What are the things we need to see from this team, to see a little bit of life from them? I mean, this would be 5 losses in a row.
First time these guys played over in playoffs, it was Shahu that took the Yone away to face Scout. Let's see here if they want to choose the same fate.
So coming into this first pick, I think this is such an interesting draft because the Corki's been left up again. I don't think the Corki is as much of a power pick compared to the last time that these two teams met up. Maybe it is about this Renekton. We saw what Zerka did the last time around. And the last time these two teams faced off, that Renekton was quite powerful between the two of them, as the Corki's now, they're going to be in the hands of Scout.
Love to see that, but also maybe a little bit more onus given to breathe on this pick and try to have as much of an impact as the Renekton did in the last game. This was also something that was banned out in the second phase. Maybe this is that more facilitation that Weiwei can bring to the table.
Tarzan has to bring out the Nidalee this time around. He really has to bring out the big guns right here. He tried it versus BLG. It kind of looked good at the very beginning, but right here you've got the setup together with the Renekton, and I'm assuming that Shaco could very easily go for the likes of the Yone in the mid lane versus the Corki. We have seen him do, especially at level 3, does pretty well. The Misfortune as well, unbanned.
And this is the thing, because you have the MF as well, what you can do is, yes, the Nidalee very, very good with the Renekton. I also think Lilia is really good with it too. Somehow just wasn't very present in that game 1, and it's a great pick with the Misfortune if you want to lock in that kind of tier list pick too. So for me, for Weibo, I would be locking in Misfortune and then the Lilia right now. Gives you some engage, gives you some incredible team fight combos as well. And also you then still have, much like the Nidalee, that farming jungler versus the utility of the Maokai, who can struggle to keep up in an individual gold level.
And just trying to find things that synergize very well with this to put Light in the best position that he possibly can be. And looking at that as well, maybe taking some things away from LNG to some extent, the Villionas, things like that, to try to deny that bullet time. But maybe some consistent damage here and some insurance policies drafted by Weibo with the Smolder.
There are so many picks, I feel like, for Tarzan at this point, especially AP junglers, that he will be able to pick one of them as the time goes by. Smolder right here, they feel like he's one of the strongest picks. He got showed yesterday by Knight how easy it was for him to get solo kills even on this particular champion. And Shaco, it's a pretty good answer into the Corki, especially since you want to play in the early game around Misfortune for a Weibo game and allowing that Smolder to scale through that late game.
So coming into the second round of the drafts, we were mentioning AP junglers for Tarzan. There's a bunch of things which combo up well with multiple champions on their team. I also want to see what's going to happen with a bit of the support mind game, because LNG could look to last pick support and they can then threaten to say, well, if Chris wants to lock in Rel, Leona on 4-5, what happens if we get Braumed on 5 at that point? The melee supports hate playing against the Braum. LG already have enough pick, they already have enough engage. That could be a big issue for them, so I wonder whether they hold themselves that kind of support counter pick until last.
So we already got that Rel ban by Weibo, maybe signaling down a Leona as well in there somewhere. But I like the utility that Gala has been willing to bring to the table this time around. It is going to be that Nidalee targeting on Tarzan's pool for LNG.
I wonder with so much setup on LNG, if Zika is going to choose to go towards something even maybe like the Cannon. It was played in their previous series, and I feel like with a Jhin, you need some source of damage to come through elsewhere in your lane. Sure, you have the Corki, and your jungle has been locked in, so support's not going to bring the damage. Your top laner has to.
Sansei bound away, that would have been one of the other answers as well. You know, funny enough, in terms of talking about the damage. This time last year, Maokai was such a damage carry that Tarzan on the other side of this particular matchup did a 9,000 damage team fight with like a 4-man brush sapling. Wonderful stuff. That would be very, very different. It has been played in the SDK, so I'm not going to completely write that off, even though we've not really seen it in the IPL. But yeah, we're looking for something that can take control of the matchup. It's not going to be that Cannon, it's going to be the Gnar instead. Gives you some team fight in some way, but gives you really good side lane pressure.
And also just coming off the momentum of some incredible flanks last game as well. I mean, you're going to be able to utilize that so well with the Gnar, but it's all about the timings and making sure you're in the right place at the right time. But Weibo, they need a couple things to shore up their composition, and they need go buttons.
They need setup and they need engage. That's a Sejuani right here, would be icing on the cake, one of the best champions to go up against. That Mako, you don't necessarily fall far behind. You're both setup junglers. You both are looking for those high engages, and I feel like Tarzan grouping up and linking up with Chris, both on engaged champions, can definitely dictate how that early game goes for them.
We highlighted the support draft mind game here. Last pick support for LNG. They're potentially threatening Brauming a melee support coming in, which means that maybe Weibo said, look, we can't pick the melee support, so we have to pick the Braum. That's why I think they go towards the Sejuani. They get the engage from the jungle, which means that Braum doesn't have to do it all by himself. He can struggle to do that, which means that LNG kind of lose the mind game a little bit if that was what they were aiming for.
And you also deny that kind of block of the bullet time damage in a lot of regards. I do still like this for Hung, though, because he has some ability to stop those combos coming through.
And Rakan does do quite well in lane versus Braum as well.
I was about to say, he's a pseudo melee champion because you cannot very easily catch him to pin him down. I have to say here, Weibo Gaming, I love what they have going on for them so far. Breathe on something that's a little bit stronger in that early game, can have impact. Tarzan on one of those champions that can very easily dictate that early game play towards that bot lane. I call Light my portable, their portable, not mine, their portable artillery machine. Once you get Light one kill, you pretty much get him all over the map, and this is how Weibo Gaming have been winning a lot of their games. Here, they've got the tools to get him ahead.
Yeah, so I really like what LNG have in terms of their comfort. They have very structured, slow engage, but it's very consistent of what it does. On the other side, Weibo, they have Renekton and Sejuani, they have Sejuani Braum, they can play across the entire map, and they have really good early playmaking tools. Weibo will very much want to get off on a better foot than they did in Game 1, where they actually just lost out on the opening blows to LNG.
This is a series we all know all so well. 5 best ofs in this last year. LNG getting the better of them overall, but it is a Weibo who are trying to redeem themselves after yesterday's performance, after this Game 1 performance. This is a Weibo who you can never count out. Every Weibo has its day, and that day needs to start right now in Game number 2. They have a very much more easily executable composition. They have a lot of late game scaling as well. They're going to try this edition of the Smolder, but the biggest importance is that Tarzan is on the Sejuani. He's on something that can be extremely proactive and give him the resources to get this team over the line. We're in Game number 2 now. Let's hear those Jayos.
The most interesting thing when there's a Braum in any team is looking for those early level 1s or those late level 1s where you really want to ruin someone's day, try to pressure Weiwei into his jungle. This time around, it's not going to be the case. Every single member is going to be guarding every entrance and exit of their jungle. So far, so good. But my eyes in this particular game for Weibo Gaming are going to be towards the bottom of the map. Misfortune was banned out in game number 1. Our Light has that in his hands.
Yeah, and just when you have the MF Braum as a duo as well, it means that you can protect the MF very well if you start jumping onto them. And yeah, Rakan's quite good in lane versus Braum, so you can start chunking him down with the Qs, get the sustain through that, shrug off some of the poke as well. But now we're kind of coming through into a really important game now between these 2v2s. I think this MF Braum, very tier listy picks, can do a lot of work.
And if you remember back, I mean, not only the stuff that we've seen in the games and a lot of the back and forth we've seen between these two teams over time, we're going to get a little bit of early level 1 there on bot side, but it really is, you know, looking back at the track record of this Weibo team, and this team with Weiwei, who is on LNG, we're literally in the World Finals just a year ago. So being able to try to hone that in and find what success that led to, but this new iteration of LNG is so important.
I mean, we were talking about there's been some changes between these two teams, you know, the junglers crossing over, but then, you know, last year it was LNG in the finals, and then they bombed out of Worlds. Yep. Weibo bombed out of playoffs, but then they got to World Finals. I'm just saying, there's a lot of poison. There are a lot of like weird, kind of completely not connected things between these.
I think not.
Look, I like to be a person of rationale sometimes.
There's nothing rational about what's happening in this early game. Everyone is going blow for blow so far in every single lane. I would love to stay down that bot lane, Crisp versus Light. It was specifically that I had asked for a clip of their previous playoff series. Crisp does this thing where he will go onto the furthest brush. As here, Tarzan, I'm going to hold my thought, because she's looking for that mid lane.
Yeah, both junglers were pathing up towards top side. Scout will end up seeing Tarzan here. There is a little bit of safety for LNG around the backside. Now we're getting a little bit of a 1v1 in the top here with the Gnar. Trying to get that Mega Gnar bar, but it is about the influence these two junglers are going to have early on.
We have seen Renekton's play around that Gnar early. Later into the game and mid-game, you really can see the Gnar take over in side lanes, but hasn't quite got to that point just yet. Tarzan now leveraging off of making Scout back off in mid lane, will now go into the jungle. The Corki is not really going to be able to respond to this play on top side, as Tarzan doesn't start up any camps until just now, knows that Breathe is crashing in the wave. He will have an isolated jungle 1v1 here. The lanes are not coming.
And this is where the skirmishing potential of the Sejuani comes to bear.
And you see Breathe scratch the wave up top lane, which means that his lanes were not coming until that wave touched the tower, and then Breathe is like, wait, I have no jobs on the map, I might as well help my jungler.
Yeah, it's like, oh yes, LNG's lane's it. No, that's not an LNG laner. And then this is something, you know, when this combo first came around, we saw so much play around Renekton and Sejuani in the early game. It hasn't really been about that, though, for the last while of being played. Renekton and Sejuani is often not the focus of that early game as the Sejuani goes elsewhere on the map. Does get some value there, though, and Tarzan tries to get something away from the enemy jungle.
Now, in this kind of situation, you're obviously seeing Weiwei take a little bit of a back foot here with that forward advance of Tarzan. Do we expect that to kind of be the trend at this point, especially after that game number 1 for Weibo, where they have stayed very proactive, even if they were so far behind?
I feel like it's all about the tools as well that you have on those champions, right? Sejuani, a very easy to gank champion, even at level 3. You don't necessarily need the ultimate. The ultimate is just the icing on the cake, just another CC on that chain. However, right here, Crisp is the one that is lacking the CC for now, the frontline engage, which Tarzan will be providing for the team. So I feel like right now, Weibo Gaming, that's why I said over in the draft, they have the perfect tools for engage and disengage.
So this is really dangerous. If you walk too far into this jungle, Braun can really start to get some damage down with that passive. This is where it's going to be dangerous.
They know they're going to try to get it. The concussive blows have been started. He goes over the wall, Tarzan does, to try to get the engage here. Gala can't join. He doesn't have any mana either. He's going to have one spell usage as LNG do pull away from the play.
He's not needed. Who knew Maokai is that strong? 2 versus 3 it is. Gala gets time to crash that wave while Weiwei takes away the jungle camps off of Tarzan. This was a pretty successful invade from the side of LNG.
And so we have Tarzan invading in top side, Weiwei invading in bot side, which means that they're largely going to be in parity for what's happened across that. So let's have a quick snapshot of these lanes. They're actually fairly even across the board as it stands right now. We've had ourselves a chance to get a couple of resets in from a few of them, and the last remaining ones will likely be going back out onto the map with their teleports after the next wave or two. We also have those grubs coming up in a minute, so watch what happens after those resets, the teleports back. Reed has level 6, level 5, he can go for this.
He wants it, and that's a little bitty gnar. He's gonna get that flash, but the slice and dice, he's gonna get the trade. It's a 1v1 in top side, but a first blood going over.
He ends up burning the flash right at the end. Breathe ends up taking that 1 versus 1. However, the kills are traded, both have TP, both can go back into lane and fix their waves if they want to. So all in all, it's an even trader than Breathe. Loses his flash too.
Look, if Breathe was going to die, yeah, you don't want to blow that flash, particularly because the grubs are now up after this. You would have loved that flash to potentially make a play around the top side. It would have been really, really nice. It's still nice, though, that he gets the XP advantage.
Oh, he didn't hit the initial.
And you can see that he just manages to get the really good E reset there too. Hits the first part of it, just misjudges the HP. Doesn't quite get out of life, but still gets the first blood.
Really good stuff, at least from both top lanes. Put their lives on the line early, go back for round 2 of the Fisticuff matchup. But speaking of Fisticuff matchup, LNG are going to take prio over these grubs. There hasn't been very big prio over the Dragon on the other side, but these grubs have been so incredibly important for both teams.
I feel like if anything right there, LNG gets benefited by that. Zeka hits level 6, does have his ultimate, can walk down if he wants to, whilst Breed had prior used that ultimate to try and get onto that dive. So it was a pretty much solo advantage. As right here, Shaku's baiting everyone in.
See who's a little bit tougher, who can stand in the tussle here. Xiaohu trying to get as many stacks as possible, but Weibo are a bit split in this fight. Scout going to rejoin on the other side, and Chris, he has no unbreakable shield there. He will end up flashing away to safety.
Man, the fact that Weibo aren't getting significant advantages with Sejuani Braum early game, with all of these early plays, is a bit worrying now at this point. Chris, we praised him in that first game. We praised him in game 3, of course, the games yesterday too. Said, look, if Chris has himself a really good game, he really does bring Weibo to life. He's not actually getting that much of a strong entry into this game himself.
And I was also expecting Weibo Gaming to play towards that misfortune, but once the Jhin gets locked in, it's very much of a tough matchup, right? Jhin can also push down the lane super quickly, and then you don't get that super shoved under the tower lane where you can threaten dives.
I personally love the Jhin into the misfortune
matchup. You personally love the Jhin full stop.
Well, hey, all right, don't hold that against me here. But it does provide a little bit, but you have that utility that I think has been so crucially strong for Gala. I mean, we saw last game, he literally got MVP for those Enchanted Crystal Arrows he was hitting on as a marksman across the map. So being able to give this guy some resources in terms of maybe not the gold, but the utility on the team is really nice.
So one of the things we said coming out of the draft for LNG was that this is a draft which fits their comfort style quite well. Game 1 was actually very, very active for an LNG game. They don't always give us that. They are a check. They're what I like to call methodical, right? I know a lot of people call them slow. I think the slowness is a symptom of the method, because the method is going down the checklist and they don't tend to skip many steps there. LNG have a lot of ability with this kind of comp to slow roll the map. They can play around Maokai, very consistent but slow engage. Play around Nas, slowly pushing out those side lanes but getting ever encroaching value. Now if we take all of that and wrap it up in a bow, the grubs on top of that are going to make LNG very, very exciting to watch now around these side lanes, because I think Zucker could potentially start taking off of that despite losing that earlier trade in level 6 to level 5.
Talking about losing trades though, Scout versus Xiaohu was a highlighted matchup in their previous playoff series, and there were a lot of iterations where Scout had the better trades in that mid lane, which have caused Xiaohu to back and lose a lot of CS, which is the case right here as well, as Tarzan is looking for some of that action we're talking about for Weibo Gaming on the map. That is a mini-gnar and a wave that's crashing towards the top side of the map.
Yeah, I mean, Tarzan on Sejuani can take his pick of the litter of where he wants to try to influence. That Glacial Prison is going to be absolutely huge. We are going to see some more invading by Tarzan on the top side. Weiwei will eventually find him out, and Tarzan realizes there might be something going on. Looking at mid.
Well, Scout might be under danger.
He wants to go over the wall. go with the sneaky play, waits, and now the flash comes out. Really nicely played by Scout.
I love how Tarzan assesses his option when he has that vision control advantage. Tarzan not going to be here on this bot side if anything erupts down here, but Tarzan, one of the greatest Sejuani players of all time, from his time in the LCK, his time here in the LPL as well. He has had so many results on that champion, and pulling the trigger like that to get a flash away from Xiaohu's Smolder lane is nice, because, of course, last game had the Smolders towards that Scout. You were mentioning the mid lane matchup just literally earlier too. Smolder's in a happy place right now.
Very quick assessment right there from Tarzan. However, a bit of a miscoordinated play. He was invading red buff, thinking he's Renekton, had crashed the wave, but Breathe was looking for a reset. He was looking to buy items. Therefore, he had to dip out of the red buff, waste some time right there, then looks for Scout, does manage to take his flash, which is the positive play out of this one. However, Weibo Gaming, these are a few of the moments where I kind of question the shot calling behind the whole machine that Weibo Gaming is, because also there were a few of these hiccups yesterday versus BLG.
There were. Something else I think is really interesting is to see the uptick in just confidence in the bot lane now that we've hit those level 6s. I mean, to be able to play around that I think is super important, and Weibo trying to adapt their style to that is crucial. We're actually looking at Weiwei maybe trying to make a play on the breathe up here, but just trying to keep presence around this Grub side of the map to try to get Grub again.
Now the problem is here for LNG, they're going to lose Meganar pretty quickly. Breathe, you've walked up to the Meganar though.
Got Dominus, maybe it just takes a 1v2. Zika about to lose his Meganar, and Breathe has rebuffed LNG on this top side play, but we're going to get a recentering around these Grubs as Crisp has shown up and so has Hung.
Giving LNG, one of the teams that loves split pushing, playing around the map, playing around taking towers. 6 Void Grubs cannot be a good thing. Weibo Gaming, they have pretty much switched everyone towards the top side of the map. As you can see, Xiaohu over to the bot side. He will have that teleport if he's needed to TP into the fray. Now pushing waves back and forth onto the bot side. Breathe still stays top, no ult for him though.
Oh, we're going to get the TP play in from bot side. That will end up being Scout joining the fight. Weibo have a flank of a Corki behind them, and Crisp is going to have to burn the flash, but the flash instantly returned. LNG, they are coming here, and they are taking everything. Zika about to go Meganar. He's getting a little bit low, though. A little bit of damage back and forth. Zika's still alive. There's the curtain call. Maybe it makes the difference. Scout's sticking in there, but he'll die to Light, who has finally shown up at LNG. They'll get one right back on the Tarzan.
A rock to the face means that now the Grubs are still back on the table. No smite. This is still continuing to fight.
Okay, it's turning into a 3v4, but this is in favor of LNG. They got a lot of frontal damage here, and Xiaohu's going down. Look at Gala. He got his MVP in game 1. He wants to follow it up. Light's trying to get him right back, though, and those love taps hurt real bad as now LNG getting away from Crisp in the re-engage of Weibo.
What a weird back and forth fight. There was a bit of a late teleport from Xiaohu, but there was an early one from Scout. That was the first real difference. Weibo somehow fight their way through that. And now at the end of this, LNG walk away probably with a better fight, but they also don't leave with the Grubs. So the actual objective they're fighting over is still available.
Hold your breath, guys. The Grubs are still there. We'll have a round 2 eventually when the ultimates are all back up.
How many rounds does this go?
Hey, well, okay. Let's see.
It'll go on for like another 2 minutes, and then Herald spawns, and then we guess we call it quits.
So right here, you see the instant TP coming in from LNG. Scout joins the fray. However, the reason for that is that he had pushed 2 waves down to Xiaohu. Xiaohu waves to clear that, to then dive in. But then it's already too late. Crisp is already down. Light's coming through that mid lane. And I'm getting deja vu of game number 1, where I couldn't see 5 players of Weibo Gaming on the same screen on these team fights. And it makes you wonder, what if this is all coordinated? You see how Weibo Gaming managed to turn this around and push them out. If you see all 5 on the same screen, they could get an ace.
Completely agree. There's just a bit of discoordination here. And you can see that this could be a one fight for Weibo pretty cleanly. They give up a bit of a freebie kill towards that bottom boulder at the end. They don't quite get the kill there. And it's just these gaps in where they should have been extra kills or something like that, but suddenly they're on. It means that LNG can keep fighting back.
We just almost had a kill in Dragon Pit. Now we're about to get a solo bolo up here. No, he's going to turn it right back. That is an angry Croc, but he got distance. The slice and dice is not enough. Zika shuts him down.
Full stacked Conqueror right there from Breathe. Tried to get the empowered Q as well to get that heal. Wasn't enough. Wasn't up in time. However, Tarzan's looking ball.
This is the LPL I know and love. Here comes Hung to try to re-engage, but Weiwei is already gone. Now Weiwei trying to take advantage of this fight that's a little bit unmanned from LNG, and Scout getting hit by the concussive blows. Maybe he makes it out. Xiaohu overextended. Xiaohu overextended. Light tries to get the bullet time across. They do end up claiming Hung. Weibo striking well.
So LNG still have Gnar left alone on the top side. They'll be able to get some value out of that. The plates have just fallen. This is what Weibo can do with this kind of comp. They do have those go buttons. They haven't really been using them that coordinated across most of this game so far, but that is a better look in. They force LNG away from that bot turret. They managed to take some gold there, and that'll be something for them.
However, a huge difference between game 1 and game 2. Light 2 and 0 onto that Misfortune. You can move him around the map and use that advantage. We're having a look again onto the top lane fight that's been going on right there. Zeka onto that Mega Gnar. This is usually when with the Renekton, you do not want to be taking trades into the Gnar when he's in that Mega Gnar form. However, Breathe learned this the hard way.
Mega Gnar is the bursty part of Mini Gnar and Mega Gnar. Mini Gnar is very good DPS on the other side because he's effectively a mini ADC at that point. You can see right here, as soon as Mini Gnar's there, yes, Renekton can burst out to squish your target, but it's not like the Mini Gnar loses damage like that, and he managed to turn that around. You can see how it means for LNG. LNG coming out the worst were in the last time of this matchup. Really strong start from the first 2 games.
And right here, instantly, Weibo Gaming, they lose one on the top side of the map, but they are proactive towards the bot side. I want your eyes peeled in the jungle because Light instantly pivots from mid lane to that bot to try and assist his team. Again, he is the guy with the kills in his back. He's the guy with the items. Got another one for himself right here. BT completed, pickaxe in the pocket as well.
What do you do now to deal with Zeka, though? I mean, he is a Gnar that is going to have such impact in these team fights, and it just does not feel like Breathe is going to have an advantage in the side lane right now.
That's a problem, because the Gnar eventually does overtake Renekton in a side lane, but that's happened early now. Weibo will need to find a way to make this game now not about that side lane. Force Zeka to join, maybe off of a bad Mega Gnar timing as well. If you can force him to join a fight in the way that Weibo can force fights very easily, maybe that's the way you can get some value out of that. While that happens, though, you can't force fights you're not going to win, so it's a very difficult equation to balance for Weibo.
Now, here's where I look at the Renekton build right here, because usually when you play against a range champion, you go stride break it to try and stick onto these targets, right? No Black Cleaver, no extra armor pen for your double 80 carry. So usually I would say, hey, even if your Renekton falls behind, maybe versus a tank or maybe versus another person, versus another champion, you got Black Cleaver, you got stairs, you can stay alive, you can use that armor pen. It's not going to be the case here, and LNG, empty tower bot.
All right, we got the Nature's Grasp across just to try to get that outer tower there. That'll be some standing gold going the way of LNG.
This is one of the best things that LNG do. They are very good at just very methodically taking towers. They hate architecture. They don't like those structures anywhere. They are against buildings in any way,
They live in the fields.
They live in the fields and in the caves and in the rivers. They're not about this building stuff. As Weibo may look to start a fight themselves, so they don't really have much follow-up available. And because they can't start those fights, Zeka gets to do this on the sidelines. It's exactly what we were mentioning before. You have to find a way to stop Zeka just dunking on towers with the Mini Gnar, with the 3 grubs. It is a bit of a problem.
It truly is, and I'm just looking at the timing of things for Weibo as well, trying to get these item spikes that are going to be available for these big fights, because LNG have done a really good job of not only carving out some of these later game insurance policies in the Dragon stacking here, but that pressure that they've been able to kind of push back onto Weibo has denied some of that early control that typically Tarzan loves to have.
Absolutely, and now I'll give you the positives and the negatives of this Gnar. If this Gnar is stuck on a side lane into the Renekton, I feel like Weibo Gaming are more than happy to take the 4v4s in skirmishes and fights around objectives. So if Breathe can manage to either stop the TP or keep Zeka busy on his side lane, I think this is going to be a very key factor for Weibo Gaming walking into these fights to come.
Yeah, so when it comes to that 4v4, let's have a look at relative to power, because we have that 30-second timer until Dragon as well. So we have big ults available on both sides. Weibo doesn't have his, that's a big cooldown not to be there right now, but that should be up fairly shortly if LNG can start delaying that Dragon. Liandry's in from way away. You have the Zeke's in from Tarzan. Good early items built in even from the junglers as well. Don't have those Muramanas completed for those mid laners yet. They're not quite at critical mass.
And a big thing here I need to keep an eye on, a little bit of side eye, is Xiaohu consistently getting these stacks going for himself. Taking these skirmishes but playing safely, and you wonder if he's going to have an influence if he can get to that big item spike as well with the stacks there. Kala is going to make it out with his flash, though, try to turn a little bit back to it, but mid lane prio is super important ahead of this Dragon.
Also very wise from Zeka right there. Doesn't want to take the 50-50, shoves in that wave, and he's already on his way towards that bot lane. They know how important that third Dragon is for the team. Also uses that Rift for some pressure.
Yeah, so they're using this Herald as a counterweight, using it to threaten this mid turret, keeping Weibo away from the Dragon.
The good old distraction Carnifex coming into effect here as LNG going to move right over to that Dragon Pit and try to get a sole point for themselves as Gala starts it up.
There is a ward behind highlighted right now for Weibo Gaming. Potentially Breathe could find an angle to TP.
I mean, he's going to try to put on his best Zika cosplay from last game here. It comes. We're going to get the double TPs in both teams willing to commit over this. Breathe is way too far over Baron, though, and he's just being turned into a pelt here. He's going to flash away by the curtain call. He's going to get one back to the back, and Scout gets the kill. Now, Weibo have to retreat from this fight.
This is kind of worst case scenario for Weibo. They lost their health on mid lane. They lose that big TP play too, and I don't think they can really stick around for this.
Okay, they got that deadly flourish, maybe trying to get Chris. The Unbreakable will not be available now. You do not have many safety tools for Weibo, but they got to do the safety dance here. The Dragon's getting low. They are still willing to 50-50 this. Tarzan's trying to get the pin. Here comes Mom from Xiaohu, but they're not willing to commit too far over. There's the bullet time, but it is secured by Weiwei, so that'll be soul point for LNG. And a nice Grand Entrance, rebuffed as well. Weiwei going forward. He's looking for a Bramble Smash. It does go the other way, but already Tarzan's down, and Zika, he has made his name known. He is not mini anymore. That man is mega, as it's LNG taking a huge fight in mid lane.
LNG do not want this series to go the distance. It feels like every time it is going the distance between these two. But Weibo, coming off the back of a 0-3 finals, have started very, very shakily in these first two games.
Again, I have not seen 5 Weibo Gaming members on the same screen. They have a wombo combo. The Misfortune into the Sejuani ult, into the Brom ult and the defense. The Renekton from the backline, and we don't see this here. You see that Breathe TPs all the way behind them. Great flank TP, but it's on vision, so LNG literally turns around. Again, a flank with one person, if you get outnumbered, he's not a flank anymore.
And I think, I don't like to emotionally ascribe things to teams, but I think Weibo look very desperate. I think that LNG look very reserved. They look very composed. They look like they are understanding the game and they're not snatching and grabbing. I think Weibo in both of these first games feel like they're just overreaching time and time again.
And I think another little bit storyline going through all this is you look, I know it's been a while, you look back to 2023, Zika was a major reason why they were able to make a run there. And I think the fact that he's showing up in a game like this in the regional qualifiers is awesome against Breathe, who was really trying to find some respect with his last couple series. As we take a look at that, we actually have a little bit of tussling going on in front of that Baron pit, but nothing else going to come of it.
So, Grand kind of payoff for that play. LNG, soul point, big advantage in terms of gold. They're breaking up these towers again. This is a huge problem for Weibo because you had the early skirmish potential with Sejuani Braum, Renekton Sejuani as well. You do have those double AD carries who can pick up some good value in team fights. It's very hard to pick up that value in team fights if your front line is so far behind. And I think now looking at, you know, multiple red numbers there, pointing towards gold advantages for LNG, it's very hard to have that platform for the double wombo combo AD carries to get much value.
I'm primarily looking at the solo lane as Breathe. That's your B1.
Yep.
It needs to be the most valuable pick for your team. He's not been able to make it work. And again, the Stride Breaker build right here doesn't allow to get to your Black Cleaver as fast as you need with a double AD carry composition. And Xiaohu, we saw it over in their previous series, that the 5-game banger that they played on the lower bracket, Scout permanently pushed him under lane, permanently made him lose a lot of those waves. And we saw it earlier on, where his backs and his resets were so untimed for the side of Xiaohu.
Now, I will say a little bit of a saving grace. We are getting to some item spikes here, primarily for LNG, but some for Weibo, because we're going to have a couple items now waiting on those 3 item spikes. But does that change the power scaling at all?
A little. I'm not going to say it's. I'm not going to give too much. Look, I can be a bit of a, I can be a bit of a hopium or copium sells with points, but in this game it's going to be quite hard. Now, I think what Weibo are looking to do is maybe just try and take a big snatch and grab play around the Baron. See if they can get themselves a Misfortune ult with the Infedge across that Baron pit. That could be the go signal they want to use. That's why LNG aren't really going towards that Baron pit. The way I like to refer to Misfortune is kind of like, much like in like Valorant or like these hack shooters, she's more like a retake the site champion where everyone else is on the site. She then tries to retake it with this big ult over the pit.
And if you look at the map, it's black. How does Misfortune retake a fight when there is no vision from the side of Weibo? Now, there is one thing that T1 over the years have been doing so well. It's when they are the stronger team, they're going to walk towards that Baron and threaten that Baron. And by the time Weibo Gaming will peek their heads in to try and get some remnants of vision, they'll switch over to the Dragon, take that away, and then they will also have that vision over a Dragon. So they'll take control of both sides of the river at once, purely because they have too much money in their wallets.
What a problem to have.
I guess, yeah. They need to get bigger pockets. I need to go to my tailor and get some pockets soon and see how much gold we can put in them. It is something, though, to say that this is a rough situation to be in for Weibo. There is no momentum going their way, even if it's a team full of veterancy, all this reunion stuff, the RNG combos of Xiaohu and Breathe. It truly is about honing into the moment, right? You can't have lapses in judgment like this for Weibo, and now especially with more objectives coming up, with a soul on the line of a mountain soul to boot. Very difficult, and a mountain that Weibo are going to have to climb.
You can see that Teleport's coming in for the setup. Zucker's trying to manage his Mega Nart bar. What do Weibo do to give themselves even a hope of trying to fight around this? Again, that Misfortune ultimate with the Infedge is really what you're hoping for. Light needs to get himself in the right position. His team needs to set up for him to have huge value.
And now you have Zeka on the sideline as well, and he's a threat. He's going to start pushing down your tower, so Weibo Gaming is very desperate right here, trying to get any vision that they can around this Dragon. My God, Crispy's like 30% HP already.
So big combo right now, though. Zika will be losing his Meganar on the sideline, does have TP to join, but that fight potential will not be there. Now Tarzan's going to kick it off, and Chris is already gone, but maybe it doesn't even matter. Bullet time going kind of completely wide there as the curtain call opens up, and what has happened to Weibo? Where did they go over these last 2 days? Because this Weibo right now is trying to find something out of nothing, and they are losing everything, including their lives.
LNG are sealing the deal. They don't need no damn Mega Nars because they're just stronger. When you're 4v5, when you've already killed someone by the time the fight has already started, they're just clearly the stronger team on all fronts.
For those of you who've watched Weibo in the last 2 days, I feel like you haven't had the full Weibo experience. Weibo in the last few days have really struggled to get fights on their own terms, but need we remind you, across the entirety of last year and this year, we had a little motto for Weibo: consistently inconsistent. They blew open top esports and blew them out of playoffs. They made their way to finals and they deserved it. They get to finals, they get to this regional qualifiers as well, and they're really struggling to get any sort of fight, whether they're behind or even in the game. This causes a worst case scenario, really. You're so far behind, and Light doesn't get a great ult either. But this has been a really shaky start from Weibo.
Absolutely, and you know the meme that says you did this for what? It's got like, you eliminated top esports, you didn't allow them to get the finals, you did this for what? Weibo Gaming clearly needs a wake-up call. I'm watching Light this entire game and I'm like, no one has played for this guy. This is the guy that's pulling all the weight when everything else falls apart for Weibo Gaming. Play more for him.
And now look on the other side too, Baron's still on the table. LNG so strong in the carries. Here comes the last gas teleport.
They got a TP. There's an Aegis grasp across. Hits multi-members. Breathe gets the flank though, and this is actually really big. Crisp is already gone, but Scout is still here kicking. Here comes Zika. He's about to get Meganar as well. Breathe has to separate it. Scout is not with this fight, but LNG still feel confident because Breathe is completely left out on his lonesome. Oh, the flash play, Wei making it known that Xiaohu cannot exist in this realm of reality, and neither can Weibo.
The game's just too far gone at this point. The teleport comes in and they get one carry. Yeah, there are multiple carries now, folks. There are too many.
Who cares about the
Jin,
like
man? League of Legends.
It's like, oh, hey.
Okay, sorry.
Look, I was definitely a guy that's like, oh, Jin kind of struggles to carry games. Didn't get a pentakill in finals yesterday, so I guess we have
some respect on his name.
Maybe retire at that point. Baron's going to go down. LNG, they don't really mind that Gull has gone down. They have so much damage left over.
Okay, I'm going to continue my sentence. Who cares about Jin when you have Corki and Nar? There you go.
All right, I'll concede that point. All right. We get LNG, though. After this fight, they actually looking to take a little bit more here. And Weibo, that desperation, it reeks of high heaven here. And they just wanted to try to get in the pit, wanted to try to get something, and they are left with nothing. Baron going over the way of LNG. They have a massive gold lead. They did get Xiaohu his stacks, and he's able to get one back, but it's just a little baby dragon. They get a double kill for Zika. Now they're chasing Breathe under turret. How are you going to make this man be put even further into the dirt? But they find a way.
LNG are just chasing Weibo Gaming down. They have the numbers advantage on the map. LNG again on every front, the better team here. Early, mid, late, team fight, side laning. They have established their dominance.
And I really think I look at this LNG team in the first 2 games, and the word which sticks out to me is confidence. They are playing with confidence and they're playing decisively.
This is a game 2 that we did not expect to go a 2-0 start in this best of 5 for LNG. It has always been contested. It has always been back and forth. But for 5 games in a row, Weibo has been shooting blanks and LNG are on match point.
LNG, this is the team we wanted to see in playoffs. We wanted to see this team take series, take games against the likes of BLG or Top East. We'll see what they can bring us out. They're a second seed going into that point. They couldn't do that then. They still have themselves this World's qualifying series here as well in terms of the regional qualifiers from LPL. And I think if they're playing like this, so we send them to internationals, I'd love to see how far this team could go there. They'd only have one more Nexus to take from that. This is still a matchup against Weibo. They like to give us the most dramatic conclusions possible, but it is already looking like it is a hard uphill climb.
And I don't like to read a lot into emotions from players, but this looks like a
they look defeated.
defeat.
Look at that. That is unfortunate.
Light, oh my god, the way Light is walking backstage, he seems gutted, right? And he had an incredible performance on the Misfortune. If I was gonna sit on that chair, I'd be like, why did no one play for me? We said how Light is the guy who'll carry the team forward, the portable artillery, and he did have the resources. It's just that LNG is pulling Weibo Gaming around the map so well that they can never focus on getting Light ahead.
Weibo have played 6 series in the last 2 weeks. They played 20 games. It has been a heck of a slog for them. I'm just wondering whether they're running out of steam a little bit. This time last year, LNG found themselves in a similar situation themselves. They played 27 games in 2 weeks as well. They did make it through that regional qualifier back then. We'll have to see whether Weibo can match that.
The biggest thing is just wanting to see some life, wanting to see something give for Weibo. It has been a tough journey here, but this is also a situation where it's not everything on the line. This is double elimination. Give us everything you got and try to get this to a series. We're going to send it to a little break. We'll be back for game number 3.
It has level 6, level 5. He goes for this.
He wants it, and that's a little bitty gnar. He's gonna get that flash, but the slice and dice, he's gonna get the trade. It's a 1-for-1 in top side, but a first blow. There's the bullet time, but it is secured by Weiwei, so that'll be soul point for LNG. And a nice grand entrance, rebuffed as well. Weiwei going forward, he's looking for a bramble smash. It does go the other way, but already Tarzan's down, and Zika, he has made his name known. He is not mini anymore. That man is mega, as it's LNG.
Welcome back, everyone. Wow, here we are again. I think we've seen this movie before. A little bit concerned for Weibo. What are we thinking after what we saw today?
Well,
so far at least.
It's a lot of the same, I think, out of Weibo. We'll get to LNG in a second. I think for me,
yeah,
from finals to today, it's on the build-up to these objective setups. Something goes wrong on an individual level. Someone's either out of position, getting poked out, or just straight up getting picked. And it's making a lot of the approaches to these objectives very difficult and very lopsided and very easy to actually navigate for LNG.
And I feel like a lot of it looks very rushed. We saw a lot of times in this game where they are just funneling straight into things like grubs or trying to get to that dragon and not respecting any of the prior vision setup that LNG had. And it's just really making it hard for them to even find a position where they can threaten a fight. Which, when you have this kind of, situation, you're connected all these champions, that's what you need to be looking to do. But yeah, it's been sad. Weibo looking a little bit deflated. I guess maybe a lot deflated.
A lot.
A lot deflated. And it's also kind of a different taste of identity as well. This specific game in terms of draft, like last game, game 1, it was a lot more about being reactive. This game, Renexus and Dwani, MF bottom side, like mid lane is kind of whatever, right? It's Xiao who can show up if he wants to show up. But these kind of picks, you're very happy to get up into the face of LNG, and they certainly did, and they were being proactive throughout a lot of the early game. But again, once we got to those mid-game setups, that was where things like really began to just topple over. And again, just around those objective timers, individual errors. Now, as an example, this dive up here, if I recall correctly, it was before like a grub setup. So it's like, yeah, this is awesome for Breathe, and I guess it's a 1-for-1. I also think if he had Triumph, he thought he had Triumph, so he would have survived the dive, but he didn't. That kind of sets them up for a very unsuccessful setup towards grubs, and again, it just kind of bleeds over into play after play off these kind of plays.
And again, when we came into today, the last 5 times Weibo and LNG have met, the series has gone the distance. Whether a best of 5 or a best of 3, these teams were always neck and neck. So the fact that LNG have been able to put up such a dominant showing in these first 2 games is huge.
And I know that you guys did bring up Hung and Crisp's performance. Could you guys dive a little bit deeper into that today?
Yeah, I mean, we heard the casters talking about it, right? That for Weibo, a lot of the fights they want to find, the picks they want to start, they start with Crisp. And we saw Crisp trying to find some impact with some good moments like that from Weibo where they were able to do so, but it wasn't enough. It was always shut down. And I feel like Hung is someone who hasn't had the greatest split, but especially in this game, I think he did a phenomenal job. He was getting great vision. He was really baiting them in with that Rakan pick, which is his 2nd most played of all time. He has around a 60% win rate on it. And it's been really nice to see Hung stepping up and really be able to match the level that, honestly, a lot of LPL analysts thought Gal has been at all year.
Yeah, and I think just to kind of add on to that point for Hung before we talk about Chris for a second is, I think Chris really struggled when he was a primary initiator throughout a lot of last year for LNG and even some early parts this year, but I think that's a part of his game he's really improved at, like actively looking to start fights as opposed to being the follow-up to the fights. And I think this was kind of a case study game for that. On the opposite side for Chris, I think Chris, we've been very heavily, praising him, especially throughout a lot of yesterday's series. Despite being 0-3, he was kind of the shining light when he was on proactive picks like Alistar, and likely if he's ever able to get onto it. But, again, very muted so far throughout this series, kind of just because of the situations he's been put in and some situations he put himself in as well.
And again, it's one of the things to wonder of how much playing back-to-back days has impacted the quality in the game in this series.
Absolutely. And when we do talk about, other very good performing players in the game, I would love to bring up Zika. I think he played around the map extremely well. If you guys go, there we go.
Yeah, who's surprised?
Yeah, unsurprisingly.
Yeah, solid matchup. Gnar is really good. Gnar's getting buff. by the way. just remember, Gnar is getting buffed. The next time that we move on to a different patch, if you're an LPL like exclusive viewer, it's going to be on Worlds. He's got buffs coming up. Anyway, aside from that crazy point, fantastic performance. You know, yeah, sure, I guess got solo killed by breathing the top side, but his team fighting, his presence overall in a lot of the skirmishes, fantastic. 2 or 3 pretty much like fight-ending ults as well.
Yeah,
very strong performance.
He was one of the best top laners this summer, and it's just been nice to see him really step up and have a chance to shine. That's always been one of the interesting things about this LNG roster overall, is that when you have someone like Scout, someone like Gala on your team, usually that's where you focus, but Zuka always able to find these moments of solo kill onto Breathe. Breathe tries to make it work, but from here, I mean, he's an item up, he's becoming a split pushing menace that absolutely no one can deal with. And again, a lot of the team fight setups, the vision, things like that weren't there for Weibo, so it always gave Zuka a great angle to find huge moments in fights.
What do we expect Weibo to follow up with next to make sure that, well, maybe they can reverse the situation that they're once again in?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of concerned now because as the draft's here on our screen, I feel like they kind of ticked a lot of the adaptation boxes that we were kind of hoping for, right? Lai in a position where he's got a little bit more individual agency inside the lane, MF pick ticked off.
Yep.
Breathe, first pick Renekton. All right, cool. I should have a positive-ish lane matchup in most situations. Zuka didn't go towards the Kennen, went towards the Gnar, still nullified him, right? And then just across the board, engage option through Tarzan, Crisp on something that can follow up on it. Yes, Braum, very defensive pick, but in this kind of case, can be used proactively. And nothing really ended up coming together in a positive fashion again. I just think the build-up to a lot of those plays just lent to LNG finding better success.
Yeah, it's looking a lot like it's coming down to some of the execution rather than any of the actual ideas that Weibo's coming to the game with, because the ideas have been there in both drafts so far. It's just been down to that execution. Hell, even going back to the Braum, right? Braum Sejuani, a lot of early fighting power there. They were trying to find it, but just never really able to go the distance. And like you said, a lot of it came down to getting poked out, getting hit by key abilities before any fight could really ever start.
Yeah, I think, you know, again, I don't always like to super deep dive onto drafts, because I feel like realistically, it's nice to hear about, but it's kind of a band-aid. But I think if there's one band-aid I could think of right now for Weibo, it would be giving Tarzan something that's, you know, very proactive in the early stages, and he
Do you have a specific pick you'd like to see?
I mean, his Nidalee yesterday was really good for the first 10 minutes of the game that he got to play it, right? Like,
there's gonna be a lot of people out there, though.
Like, trust me, I get it. I don't like seeing Nidalee locked in 90% of the time, but Tarzan has the hands for it. We saw it yesterday. I think, you know, if you want to go towards Renekton again early, if you're on the blue side, lock it in B1, go something like Renekton AD, Nidalee AD middle bot, and just kind of see where the draft takes you, because right now it feels like you've tried 2 vastly different identities and styles of play.
Yes.
Neither of them have worked. I think now it might be time to try and hand over the you know, the baton, as it were, to, you know, a different player on the team, because we've seen it from both sides of the map now already.
What about you, Lyric? Do you have any specific plays you want to be seeing? Or sorry, picks, not plays, my bad.
Maybe not necessarily picks,
Yes.
but just following up
Then
on the
plays.
Tarzan point, like, it feels like Xiaohu also needs to be someone to step up, because Xiaohu, for Weibo this year especially, has been very either super cold or super hot, and now we need the super hot. You know, we need, I was calling him the saber tooth of summer to step up. You know, no more Tiger King of spring. He needs to show up in this summer qualifying match and be able to get to Worlds.
Yeah, this is potentially match point for LNG. Do tell me, what kind of spice do you think they would bring to Worlds?
Honestly, LNG would always be an interesting one, just because, like Nightmare was saying, a much more methodical team compared to other LPL standards. And, you know, we're seeing that be the thing that's really getting the best of Weibo right now.
Yeah, that, again, I think their typically reactive style of play is what kind of makes them unique to the LPL, because the LPL is obviously so well known for the overall the overall, like, kind of fast play of the LPL, and that's kind of what makes them stand out. So, yeah, I'm hoping they kind of continue to bring that, and hopefully do that against some of these Korean teams.
All right, absolutely. So, guys, I think we are ready for the next game. Wait a minute.
There's someone waiting for you.
Wait. I'm receiving a phone call. Hi. What? Mazel, I'm supposed to throw to you? Oh, my bad. Well, Mazel, please take it away.
It's my time. It's me.
It's your moment.
It's my
You
moment.
called her for this?
I don't know what to do.
You called her?
Yeah,
Okay,
remote
go,
headset. You know,
3, 2, 1, go.
No, I don't know. It's exciting enough to get into a game number 3. Obviously, not exactly the way Weibo would want to be going here. And again, I highlighted the end of the last game itself. 5 losses in a row. You could see it wearing on them in their faces. But this is a team with the veterancy you expect for them to pull themselves out of this and try to bring us to a series.
Reset. Heads back in, you go to the drawing board. What worked for us? Varus is the first thing that pops to my mind about Light. He's literally used as an engage tool, as a disengage tool. This guy's so good on such an off-meta pick right now. Crisp, onto Leona. Tarzan, back again, onto an engaged champion. Get the map rolling early. That 15-minute mark, they have to be ahead.
Big part of getting that map rolling for me is I wonder if they go red side and try and get a counter pick in top lane, because, look, Breathe had a pretty good showing in finals in some games. Like game 1, he had a really good Kasance. Last time they faced up against LNG as well, Breathe had some really good matchups versus Zuka. Zuka has been counter-picking the heck out of Breathe, and it has not been doing very good things for Weibo. I'm a firm believer if you blind pick anything for too long, it becomes just very, very counterable. We've seen this, you know, with the Cannon. We're seeing this with the Renekton now as well. These aren't just safe plug-and-play champions all the time, especially when Zuka's been going towards side lane picks. So I think maybe red side, counter-pick top, that could be valuable.
Yep, it truly could. And we're going to be getting on to the stage for game number 3's picks and bans. Can Weibo stop the torrent of this chillin'? I don't think it's going to be that easy. We're getting into the Weibo blue side of things here. Yet again, they are going to ban away that Ziggs and the Ashe. Very much respect from the previous games, but it is the Lucian and the Rumble by LNG.
Samara, I'm actually surprised. I was with you here. I'm like, you need a reset of some sort. Get that red side. Try to find a different avenue to play on the map. Get those counter picks rolling. But I feel like, again, if you want to potentially get Weibo gaming on their most comfortable champions, the ones that have ward, you potentially just want that B1 to be for you. Again, I feel like B1 needs to be a lot more competitive than just a Renekton, a blind pick, something like a Leona, a Misfortune, heck, even the Varus, if you want to B1 that for the side of Weibo, or even the Corki for Shaku, just anything that will have more impact than the Renekton on the map.
So this time Weibo ban away the Maokai. It does leave the Ivern open if LNG wants to go towards that, which has been banned in the past. Corki first pick, do we believe in that anymore? Weibo didn't do that last game. They've kind of lost both sides of the Corki Smolder matchup now in that mid lane. I'm
worried.
Wait, Weibo don't have answers to what we've seen in the previous draft.
I'm worried here. Weiwei was the one playing the Ivern in their previous best of 5, and it worked out pretty well for them. So now leaving it open with a bunch of AD carries and an AD potential top lane.
No. I just got a pit in my stomach, guys. I don't even know. Oh, God. This is an Ivern Zeri combo here already from LNG, and it's so powerful. Need to see some answers from Weibo and maybe giving Tarzan a little bit more onus here.
Yeah, and if you look at the matchup between these teams, I think there was only one game where, but in the last best of 5, which went to 5, and then the 2, well, now 3 drafts here, where Ivern wasn't picked or banned. Weibo don't want anything to do with it, and LG snap it right up. In a double AD carry meta, Ivern is very, very good at empowering them.
And do you potentially want to lock in something like the Rel here for Crisp? A lot more engage, breaks the shields off of the Ivern as well, which is very important. Gives a lot of engage for your cannon as well, since you want to have those wombo combos. However, I'm thinking here, the cannons, the Lilias, the Misfortunes, the Leonas, all these are still in play.
I love the kind of different shades of Tarzan we can get. Right now, it seems like they're trying to set up a big wombo combo, maybe some Venn diagram setups for themselves. But it's really about getting them some of those combos to come across, and now they'll have the Slicey Maelstrom with the bullet time.
I want to see what Zuka's going to do into this top side. Last time we saw these two teams face off in playoffs, Zuka was countering the cannon with Ryze. Ryze was this counter pick in the top side. And either way, you know, we talked about, hey, counter pick for Zuka, very, very powerful. And any blind pickable top laner that gets picked for too long, people will practice counters. We've seen a lot been picked up into the cannon. We've seen Nasus, we've seen Ryze, we've seen AD carries, we've seen Jace. There are plenty of options which they can lead through to the second round as they pick up the Jhin here instead.
Honestly, when I'm seeing Ivern, I'm thinking of melee champions that can carry the shields forward, be that front line together with Daisy. I honestly have not seen the Ryze pretty much work very well here. It works well in lane, but other than this, it has kind of fallen flat.
Carried game 3 last series.
Well, you know, Zika has done so well in shutting down Breathe. I wouldn't necessarily like to see him on a more passive pick on a side lane like Ryze, but Moving forward here, things like the Rel, the Leona, very important to set up the wombo combos that Weibo Gaming have on their side.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to look at is a little bit of the second phase focus. You need something to shore up this wombo combo for Weibo. On the other side, you need to have some consistency here to deny maybe some of those pieces here and have something that you can rely on to get these 280 carries into a point of pressure.
So we're actually very fortunate to have a very big Ivern aficionado with us here in the studio. Jamada loves that champion, and he gave us a tier list in terms of the best picks to play with Ivern. He said the best is Nautilus, then you have Alistair, and then you have Leona. Those three are like the Omega champs with the Ivern, and of course all of them are still available. LNG banning away the Braum, I think that's really intelligent to say, look, the Braum is going to deal with all of them because it's just laning phase as a melee support into a Braum just sucks. Now they can get themselves one of their choice melee supports on 4 if they really want, if they want to snap that up early, but they can also just save them all until last pick as well. Try and get a pseudo, well, it's not going to be as much as a support counter pick without that Braum, but you can do something with it, right?
And also when you're looking at those wombo combo engages, Rel and Leona are the ones that spring to mind right here. Rel has been taken away for LNG, and what stops them for actually taking that Leona on R4? You mentioned how well it pairs up with the Ivern, how much of a frontline she is. Taken away right here, the next one could be something potentially like an Alistar or a Rakan.
I do say, like, I know it's only one ban. I love the Nasus ban. Just give it a little bit of breathing room, if you will.
We have enough data now to say, yeah, Kennen don't like that dog.
It ain't good. It ain't good.
He don't be liking that dog. So Zucker does have counter pick on the top side. What's he going to do here? He does go towards the Cassante. So it's not necessarily a counter into the Kennen in lane. It is a survive lane impact team fight. You can drag him out over a wall as well with your ultimate points.
I also feel like Cassante is one of the best champions to play against the Kennen because you don't need your flash in this lane. You can go exhaust. You can go exhaust towards the top side of the map together with the teleport, and you always have it whenever you're in the presence of Kennen alongside with shield, and potentially even another exhaust if you want over on your support for the set of LNG.
So that is also another champion that combos up very well with the Ivern shield, so that's one of the part of the front line of LNG working really well with him. LNG's drafts, I think they've been really good at finding a direction, finding a front line. Tarzan does go towards the Lilith. That is a powerful combo with the Misfortune. The Alistar in the mix too, or another melee support can give them some frontline, but all the same, I'm looking at this LNG comp with a potential tank support pick coming through. It's going to be really hard to get through.
I do really like Tarzan's Lilia, though. I feel like he has such a cerebral way of thinking his path, and we saw last game, I mean, they were literally back and forth trading blows in each other's jungle, but getting this Lilia for him, setting the pace, setting the tone of the game is super important for Weibo, and we'll see what the final pick is going to end up being here for LNG, as they need something to kind of shore up the in-betweens. The Poppy would be pretty awesome, but trying to get a little bit more consistency in the Rakan.
Look at both the flavors here for the teams. They suit them so well. Weibo Gaming is all in. Wombo combos. LNG's like, we're waiting, we're good. We have heals, we have shields, we have Daisy, we have tanks, we have frontline. We've got so much range with Jhin as well. Come at us, we will be ready for you. And it has been the name of the game for LNG. If you're the better team, you might as well scale into that late game and wait for the opponent team to engage on you.
I like the way that you're rattling through those points. It's like, do we just go to a supermarket, just pick up the draft butcher water? Yeah, I'll take a bit of engage. Sure, awesome tank. That sounds awesome. What about range?
What are we missing? Some damage? Yeah? Put that in there as well with the Zeri.
Put it on the shopping list. LNG comes together with, again, a really good front-to-back style of team comp. They can play it a little slower. The Ivern has been very, very powerful for them. Weibo have been terrified of the Ivern. They have banded away at almost every opportunity over the last now 8 drafts they have played against them. Weibo do have some power of their own. I like the Lilia Misfortune, but look at LNG's draft. That is scary.
Absolutely. If they scale into that late game, they have the chance to take over with all those shields and peeling that they have. However, the thing that rings the alarm for me for Weibo Gaming, it's such an oversimplified composition. Everyone press your R's at the same time when the entire series they couldn't have 5 people on the same screen.
You're setting yourself up for either success or failure here. It is a double elimination bracket here in regional qualifiers. Weibo will not be done if they lose here, but to lose 6 games in a row, 6 meaningful games with a world's ticket on the line, it cannot be the way that this Weibo goes down. It is all about coming back in this series, finding some life for a team that looked so defeated. As we get into game 3, let's hear those Dios roar. getting into it now. We're actually going to see a little bit of a level 1 potentially set up on this top side of the map, but Xiaohu just trying to find any entrance here, who also has been a little bit quiet.
And in case you're wondering, why is Xiaohu top lane? This is a big thing when you have a ranged top laner. Getting a ranged top laner stood inside a brush is really, really annoying at level 1, because they hop out of the brush, they auto-attack you, they hop back into the brush, and they drop mini aggro. You see this a lot when you have stuff like Jace lanes or Cannon lanes like this. Someone will go into that top side to help put down a ward.
Also, it's a lot of the safety for the melee top laner as well, right? You get to dip into that fog of war, get that last hit, dip back out again, especially since Kenna has the range onto you. So it's a double-edged sword in favor of Breathe right there.
Love brushes and top
You know what, though?
I thought you were going to say double-edged swords. I like those.
Very surprising that is not an exhaust Cassante. Over
Yeah.
on the top side of the map, Zuka has chosen to go with the flash, trying to make the plays. There are so many carries on the side of Weibo Gaming, so he does favor being able to get into that backline, get onto his key targets.
And you also have the all-out to try to separate, right, and try to get Breathe away from these fights. So I think these little micro calculations are going to be super important.
I also think the other thing too, Zuka has been dunking on Breathe today. I think it takes the flash and says, yeah, I can help with the team fights, but what about solo kills? That flash is better in terms of the 1v1. Getting
Screw exhaust.
Yes, screw exhaust. Let's just get into melee range. Let's keep fighting, because Cannon, if he gets melee range of the Cassante, is in trouble. So as we go into this early game, and particularly into the mid game, I want to see if Zuka pays off on that.
Very importantly, Tarzan is pathing bot lane! Yay! When I saw Light walk backstage with that defeated face after he had played such a good Miss Fortune
Look
game.
at this level 1 here. Let's level 2 rather, as a little bit of trades going back and forth. That will be both summoner spells burned by Hung.
And that Lilia is heading towards that bot side of the map. Crisp, still with his flash available, can make that engage happen.
Weiwei's also heading towards bot side as well. Ivan, no slouch on that first clear. Already set up 1 mark on that blue buff as well. You can see that green dot on the minimap. That means that his passive is ready on that one. He can also be towards bot side. We might be setting up for a 3v3 in the next minute or so. We'll see how the waves look to help with that. With a flash on Crisp and no, not on Hung, that might be the target.
And you know what? Ivan has almost no counters. A few people that I've heard here, and they're like Kha'Zix maybe.
Lumberjack, Scion.
He's just a jobless jungler. He's a jobless jungler. He doesn't have to spend the time in the jungle, which means he gets to move around the map, set down vision, potentially look for dives or flanks, as he's doing right now in the mid lane. Just threatening the map constantly, putting down the brushes, enabling his laners. Hey, maybe being a jobless jungler is a good thing.
I like how you look at like his, his tree man brethren of Maokai. Hang on, Chris. Again, I'm just afraid of that flash, this combo. Nothing
Unfortunately,
really
Gala
nearby.
is just a little Jhin. Not a lot of mobility, but unfortunately not able to follow up much damage there. Tarzan did show his face here. Weiwei was sneaking around the corner to get in the alcove.
Yeah, I think Gala and Hung realized the threat of that place. They don't leave themselves at easy kind of options. Now we're fighting over the bot scuttle. Weiwei's here, Hung's here, but remember, Hung no flash, no exhaust, will definitely hurt.
Yeah, they want to try to get the engage there. I love that Crisp is trying to set it up, but Crisp getting low. There's the deadly flare landing on Tarzan. Crisp is the primary target. Gala wants him so bad he flashes for it. First blood to LNG. Now it's Weibo being surrounded here. Light is trying to get those love taps in. He does get the trade back in the end. It goes over to Tarzan, but now Light has overextended. Gonna flash out of the deadly flourish there, and it's heavy trades on bot side, but this is tradition now. 1-for-1 early.
And this entire time, Scout and Xiaohu were going at it as well, trying to stop one another from getting any action to the bot side river.
I think the biggest thing for me now is that Tarzan picks up that kill. Tarzan, for me, is the player to watch on Weibo in almost any one of their games. Yes, they have a lot of star power across the roster at various different moments, depending on what form they're on, but Tarzan has consistently been the leader for the macro of this team. Giving him an early kill, giving him some early gold can really help.
And you think walking in here for Weibo Gaming, this is a winning play. There is no flash over on the other side onto Hung, and they're looking for him. You see how Light is constantly just hitting onto this Rakan. But on the other side, so much damage and survivability with the red buff onto the Ivern, plus the Jhin that was untouched this entire skirmish.
Also, another thing which comes up in moments like this, Ivern gives allies a buff if they stand in bushes as well. They get some extra damage too. That can help a lot in those early skirmishes. Ivern has a lot of that kind of unseen value in those plays. So Weiwei at least manages to get one back for his own AD carry. Gala hasn't necessarily been on screen in this series as much as the previous ones, but I think Gala, it's really worth reiterating. Fantastic summer coming from him. No, didn't have the playoffs he wanted, but still had a really good all-pro placing from himself, and he's been so crucial for his team.
He really has got the MVP in game number 1 for his arrows. Scout will just dash over the wall there, but I want to reiterate and go back to the point of Tarzan, right? Like, this man was literally not even playing in spring, taking a break there, now coming into Weibo to try to save the day, and he has been the most impactful piece to the puzzle for them. And if there's somebody that's going to step up, it's got to be him. Xiaohu, he's going to take a step down here, though, as another entrance comes through. Xiaohu going to Valkyrie away. Hung could finish him off here. Not enough with the auto attack. The feathers aren't strong enough there. Hung is gone. Xiaohu is alive and well. And Weibo, maybe they get a little bit of momentum going back for them. Tarzan wants a little bit more, but they end up not getting Hung either. How did they get out of there?
Pull up LNG with a 4-man mid lane to chase down Xiaohu. 6 minutes, not even into the game. Have we swapped the titles of the teams here?
Oh man, LNG don't manage to finish off that kill though. Tarzan gets to stick around. He'll go towards the grubs off of this and give themselves something to play around. While this is happening, Breathe is doing fine in the early lane, and with the cannon not really being interrupted against the Kasansei, he's going to use the grubs, which are now being picked up fairly effectively.
It's a nice little bit of a change of momentum, a little bit of change of pace for Weibo. Definitely showing a little bit of signs of life there, and they'll be able to return to that grub side of the map itself. But now, we do have Dragon on the other side. It's taking a heavy back seat in this series so far, but we saw LNG utilizing that side of the map very well to stack themselves up some insurance policies. You think that's still the case this time around?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like as long as Weibo see that this Dragon is not taken, that was their win condition for LNG last game. They were on sole point. Eventually, you're going to have to fight them, and it's not going to be on your terms if you're Weibo Gaming. Right here, they have the chance to get that Lily ahead, as you mentioned, get that farm onto the cannon.
No way.
Oh, no.
Oh, Breathe, this cannot happen, man. He's going to get the flash out too. Zeka kills him, and that is a monstrous 2v1.
Zuko took the flash exactly for moments like this. Who needs an exhaust? Just flash it in, go melee, get the kills, get something back, and Zuka has really just commanded the top lane in this series.
And look what's bleeding right now. It's Tarzan's jungle with Zeka still in the top lane. You see that Weiwei gets to walk in, but maybe Zeka here has overstepped his welcome. The shields.
Yes, the shields there. I don't know. Weiwei has a big influence. Tarzan, maybe
he goes back in.
He's still a Kasante, Tarzan. You gotta be careful.
You saw what happened to Wei
yesterday,
yesterday, right?
I did, and it was on a Lilia.
Right.
I don't know, man. I just look at Lilia's like that. I just think this champion has way too much damage at that moment. Lilia is also one of those champions which...
Yeah, that's what Wei thought yesterday too.
Yeah, he thought that too. I guess Sarah was wrong.
This is really bad for Gala. He has no mobility out of this one. He does have the flash still. He's going to reserve it, and Scout making his way over. This is massive for LNG if they can get an open up here, and they're going to get the lightning crash too. Light is not being blocked for Crisp. You have to save him. The headbutt comes through. Crisp is about to go down as well. Hung is still alive, and a double kill for Scout.
Scout uses that little Tony Hawk wall ride to get over from the mid lane down to bot lane and gets himself 2 kills on the board. Weibo have had a better early game than the rest of the series, but Scout just takes that bot lane play by the scruff of the neck with that mobility that Zeri offers with the E.
This is so tilting. This is so tilting right here. You lose your top laner and then you get roamed down bot lane by Scout on this Zeri. Sure, this plays happen. Kennen is very weak early, cannot actually defend himself after he flashes as well, and there was an Ivan right there. But look at the state of mid lane right now. Shaku can actually shadow Scout over towards that bot lane, has the flash available to him as well. And right here, Weibo and Chris take what they thought was a 2v2.
You have to think of Zeri E just like a semi-global. Gets to the play so quickly, but you know, Chris is trying to back off from the knockup. I think he knows that without the flash on MF is dead. I don't think there's any way. Look, it feels actually like, yeah, you probably should maybe get out of that, get the body block there, but I just don't see any way he lives through that one with so many auto attacks coming through. Awkward moment there on bot side.
Still had flash, my friend.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't actually let that play.
In the couple seconds afterwards, and now trying to get that centered in here for Weibo, because when we started this conversation for them, we really like the execution threshold for them. All they gotta do, they gotta press their R buttons all together. We haven't been able to see that necessarily, but the time will be coming as Tarzan had started up the Dragon. A little bit of scuffling going on down here in a 3v3.
There is teleport onto Zeka if he wants to join, but there is none on the side of Breathe, so you need to make sure you keep in that Kasante in lane.
So Dragon being set up. It is a blue side Dragon. Tarzan has flash, but it's hard to get away from that wall. There's a chance for LNG here.
See if they actually just want to throw Daisy into the mix of things here, but 10 minutes in, it'll look like Weibo will take control of the spot side and secure their first Dragon.
And again, I feel like LNG are playing so slow, so methodical. They know they're scaling. You've got Zeri, you've got Ivor. Who doesn't want to read those 3 to 4 items?
Sorry, the way you said that, so slow, so methodical. Is that like the LPL version of so mindful?
No, that's OG Courage. That's OG LCK right there for you.
I do want to focus in on this grub spawn that's coming up. Again, could be a grub again. We might need to batten down the hatches here, though. But Weibo want to try to get this, right? Because they will have such big team fighting strength that they can utilize that to press afterwards.
I like how earlier you were calling the Herald the Distraction card effect, you know, like Warhammer 40k.
Yep, absolutely.
We have a whole hive fleet available if we get levels, get 6 scrubs in there too.
Bot lane has reset already for LNG. LNG will be the first ones there. Weibo Gaming are already starting it, but as you can see, there's 2 teleports onto Zeka Scout. They have been reset right now. They will possibly TP back in, as the bot lane will actually be too late on this one. The resets actually hurt LNG right here.
Big win here for Weibo, because we talked a lot about that top lane matchup, and yeah, there was the kill in top lane for Zucker, but you are still a cannon against a Cassante with 6 grubs now. If you do mess up one trade and that leads to Cannon getting onto the tower, Cannon could get a lot of gold out of next few minutes of play, and then of course later into the side lanes
and
too.
No exhaust.
True. yeah, that can really hurt that one, because realistically, a lot of the games so far in game 1 and 2 have been just Zucker taking over a side lane, Weibo losing value, and then kind of getting desperate around that. They should have a bit more side lane control this time, and a lot of payoff from it.
Let's see Breathe trying to make sure he doesn't get under-towered over there in his island that he's been assigned to. I do like some of these readaptations of lane states. Tarzan is coming over here to try to shadow over this play. They're trying to force it, though.
Look over the river as well. Whilst this was going on, Crisp has taken complete control over the river and a little bit behind enemy lines for the side of Weibo Gaming, making sure that they have eyes on them the entire time, trying to keep Breathe as safe as possible. His flash just got up, so a dive was very in the books for LNG.
Breathe, you've got to be careful walking close to that bush. If you go with...
Scout's going on him. Scout is absolutely just going ham. The lightning combos, but who's got the better wattage right now? Nothing else is going to give, but Scout is going to flash, get the flash out of Breathe as well. Oh, goodness. That's a TP coming in.
No way, the cancel!
He actually just completed his item there, and now he's got the Katic Ricker to come in here and try to get the damage. Scout might be looking to get the kill. Really nice moves from Breathe, though, but the flash comes out, and Zika puts him down again.
And very importantly, what does Weibo get on the map for this one? Because Breathe won them so much time. Look at Shaq over to the top side of the map. He's trying to get as many tower planting. He's falling behind onto Scout, trying to make that matchup even again.
Every time you cross map, you look at the grubs and you say, okay, who has more? If one team has more grubs, it's easier for them to cross map. They're using the 6 grubs on that top turret. There are 2 people still on the bot turret. It's still going to be an easy first turret taken by LNG, but the 6 grubs do make this easier for Weibo to get advantage back in the top side.
I do love that they're trying to adapt their style to this. Take what they're given to some extent. Even if it is a small advantage for LNG, there is a lot of standing gold left on the map, and Xiaohu getting some of that is huge. We are already getting to our first item spikes, very much ahead for LNG in that regard.
I seriously believe if Weibo Gaming walked up here, they take first tower for themselves with the 6 Void Grubs. However, they try to establish some vision over in the jungle, potentially use that route again to pressure that top side now that the cannon is going to be swapped again.
Also, I think just solo gold and Corki is more worth it. I mean, Corki is so strong when you get all the gold there. So you lose the extra bit of gold for the first turret bonus, but I think just having all of it nucleated on a Corki who can then just maybe blow open a lane that he's in could be really important.
Yeah, mid lane gold kind of neutralized right here. Only 200 gold up onto Scout Zeri. You've got the Trinity Force completed for Corki as well. So absolutely right. 100% worth it to get every single tower plating solo onto this Corki. Has equalized the damage done right there in terms of gold difference between the mid laners.
Single tear falls from Tarzan's eyes. That was my plates as well.
Which is now in Shahu's inventory.
There you go. It all makes sense. It all circles back around. But with that Rift Herald up and ready to go and a Dragon in 50 seconds, positioning around the map is oh so important. And I love that Weibo have said, this top side of the map, this is going to be ours. And LNG have a bit of a rebuttal.
Okay, teleporting onto the Jin Trap. There are teleports available for Breathe and for Xiao if they want to fight for this. They do have the 6 grubs. They might have to give over this Herald. They are in the area. Teleport not just pulled just yet.
I want to see a fight. I want to see Tarzan get in there, try to get something going here for Weibo. Something's got to give. And now they're going to TP in. This is a heck of a fight, but the Rift Herald's already gone. Now LNG are just going to collapse on Breathe. He's going to pop the Slicing Maelstrom immediately, but it's a very split fight from Weibo. Now they might center in. Scout has very much overextended and will just fall. Zika is all by himself now too, and Weibo, they actually were able to split the fight here against LNG, but Zika is still a Cassante. Here comes the lilting lullaby as Tarzan sweet. Nothing's come across. It is the bullet time that puts the damage down, and Xiaohu comes up.
Now that was another split fire from Weibo Gaming, but so well controlled on all fronts. Everything worked in their favor. Kennen with that TP, Breathe with the PTSD right there, doesn't TP behind enemy lines. This time around, TP's around his team, making sure that most of the front line from LNG will be pulled towards the Kennen. LNG, the rest of them could not walk up.
So, going back into the replay of this, yeah, we can talk about how split this is, and also how LNG, I think LNG misunderstand their comp a little bit. Zucker and Hun go forwards, they try and stop the Kennen getting value, but it means they're not stood in front of the rest of their carries. Scout is not playing with his front line. Xiaohu and Chris completely shut him down. Yes, Scout would have won a 1v1 versus Xiaohu, maybe, but it's not a 1v1 like that. LNG just misposition around their front line, go a little too far, and Weibo pick up the piece.
Also look at Tarzan as well, waiting over the wall, still hadn't used that ultimate, gets the double lockdown right there. Great ultimate by Light too. That was Weibo Gaming with 5 members on the screen for the first time in an entire series.
You know what that combo is called? It's sleepy time. As now we're going to see the Dragon set up by Weibo. That's trying to get a second combo going for themselves to start building towards that soul, which it will end up being a Hextech soul.
You know my favorite MF combo is the Jarvan MF, which is the shot blast.
Yeah.
So Swell Seed lands onto Scout. No available for Tarzan, but that burn is going to be just enough to force them away as well. Weibo, again, remember, they have 6 scrubs. It's very easy for them to make cross-map plays like this, force themselves on threat. And once again, Xiaohu getting that gold from the sideline. This time it's Zucker getting it. Well, if he even takes this entire thing by itself. But Xiaohu getting a lot of gold for himself.
I feel like LNG are fine losing these towers for the time being. Again, there is so much scaling on their side. I'm worried on the. I'm worried on their damage profile because Jhin is not necessarily a consistent damage dealer. However, Weibo Gaming have a bunch of squishy targets. So Zeri plus Jhin, so many shields, so much protection, so much engage and disengage coming through the team later on. When they've got 3, when they've got 4 items in their inventory, is going to hurt. My question always when I see a team that loves scale, and LNG love to do that, is how much are you willing to lose until you start fighting back?
That's a really good point. And, you know, we can talk about the Corki getting a load of gold. Like, that is going to be scary. But no, the fact that you do bring up the fact that, you know, Jin's got some extra utility with it. There's no real hyper tank on the side of Weibo as well. It's not the worst game to be playing that as Gala caught out.
It's just the Jhin, and Xiaohu will get another one.
The shields aren't there this time. He's on his own in that mid lane, and you know, as much as we've praised Gala so much through this summer, it's a pretty bad death to give up there as Weibo. They're starting to find their feet. We've been asking if they can wake up. This has been a much better game.
The RNG bros meet up again, but maybe this time not so friendly, as Xiaohu very much more present in this game than he has been, I feel like, in the last 5 games as well, trying to pull this team from the brink.
Take that Corki bot lane. Look at the wave. Push out your waves, Weibo Gaming. They've got so much pressure with the cannon up the top lane. This is a 4 versus 5. You just took Gala down. He has to walk all the way from base. So take that time to establish some pressure on the sides, so then you can bleed your pressure through the jungle.
I think the problem is right now, they're just at a teleport disadvantage. They want everyone here just in case a fight erupts.
Oh, they're actually just going to erupt the fight right now. Daisy's coming in as well, as that'll be the primary focus for Weibo, try to separate that one out, and it will just be Weibo making a little bit of an entrance into LNG's jungle.
So here's the fun of the game. If there are no objectives, LNG are not obliged to fight. This is why I'm like, take some control of your
In
side
my
lanes.
LPL?
That's not my LPL.
Right here, Gala, he thinks that the right side of the map is the correct side for him. He walks too far forward, flanked by Shaku right there. Great flank, actually, from Shaku.
man.
You expect him to probably show up bot lane, try to shove in this wave. That wave is already shoved, though. He has no job on the map.
Many an AD carry has died for a cannon minion. This will go down in one of those.
Hey,
plays.
he channeled his inner Jackalope there.
I guess.
From recent games, from recent games.
Say, you gotta do a little context there.
Someone watched that last series. I ain't disagreeing.
There you go. I had the subtitles underneath.
Man, that's one of the problems of watching Pro League of Legends to this level, is that you can probably spend about half an hour caveating any.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you just gotta cut it up and say, look, there's a paragraph after this, after an asterisk.
How many caveats are there for Weibo at this point, as the Rift Herald will be put into play in mid lane?
I mean, the whole thing about Weibo's comp is trouble, very, you know, simply put it in draft. They press R at some point. They have reached the point where they can just press R. So in terms of the caveats, that's a pretty good kind of nullifier of that. If they get everyone grouped up and they manage to get all of these wombo ults at the right place, LNG will struggle to defend against that.
You also already have 3 items on Xiaohu, a massive spike for the Corki, obviously waiting for that evolution, but it's going to be hard to deal with some of that poke coming through.
And that's why I was raving so much about taking the towers. This is how Xiaohu has found that success, by taking down the vision, then dipping into Fog of War, having these flanks onto Gala, finding those plays. Hung is trying to put some vision down for himself, but this is another problem here for LNG. They do not have the bodies to walk in and face check.
And I love that you mentioned that play earlier and says like, well, Xiaohu dropping off of bot lane, well, maybe you should push that wave, but he turns up mid lane instead, just doing unexpected things, because technically it might not be the quote-unquote right thing in a macro sense, because you're dropping a wave. He's getting value because LNG are expecting him to do the right thing, and he's popping out his Fog of War instead to make plays in the enemy jungle.
So
like
not doing the right thing is the right thing.
That is the grand
If you don't know what you're doing, how will they ever know what you're doing? That's the ticket. No, but it's really nice to see some of that veterancy shining through, just knowing that he can play around the map like that.
Okay, and now we have Dragon coming up in 30 seconds. So this is where the problem comes in. LNG can choose to not fight when the objectives aren't up. You don't want to give a Hextech soul point, though, over to Weibo. You can see that they're trying to push out this mid lane, group up with Weiwei. If they can get a fight where Kasance and Daisy are stood in front of the rest of the team, it looks a lot better for LNG. Problem is, if there's any sort of teleport flank, and there is one there on the blue buff, things could get very, very dangerous with a flash ulting cannon.
Cannon has already TP'd towards the bottom of the map. I get the PTSD of TPing into the backline coming through, but this is a sandwich that Weibo Gaming could possibly be looking for.
Because actually leading the front line right now. Really the only one. Chris is going to pop that Unbreakable Will here. You have to look at the flank though. When will Breathe be impactful here? He is the ticket in to a big wombo combo for Weibo.
Have seen him sneak in. He's right on the side. They do have eyes on the cannon, but Zeka has now taken the place of Daisy, and he's not as tanky.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's got to burn that flash. That might actually mean that LNG have no fight to give.
Yeah, Zucker needs to go back, immediately teleport back into the play after regenning his HP. LNG had a good start to this, but they lose a lot of chunk on their front line.
I love how reserved that Weibo are, but now they're just getting pounced. The Xiaohu's gone! His saber teeth have been cracked in half by LNG, and Scout's going for more. He wants to go for the flash. Scout is emitting absolute essence right now on the Rift, and he is dominating.
How do you lose the river? You fought tooth and nail to walk into this river, to fight them out, to chunk down Zeka, to get him back to base. You are on so point if you get this dragon, and an overextension from Xiaohu loses them everything.
I think there was a massive misplay in the lead up to this. We called it out. Breathe teleported to the bot lane wave. That was on vision from LNG. They know he's done that. If there is that unseen threat of the teleport coming in from somewhere, which you haven't swept through, I think LNG play this a lot differently. So we'll go back to the replay now. There is no teleporting cannon right now. Xiaohu and Breathe walk up. They spot with the Frost Swarm. Scout here. They don't spot everyone else. They spot him with the Frost Bomb, but they just walk straight into the gun.
But where do you think everyone else is? If you're Xiaohu, has everyone just left the building? If Zeri's right there, surely rest of her teammates are around as well. LNG have not given Weibo Gaming an easy fight in any objective. Why would they start now?
Scout caught on the sideline. This could be a bit of an issue.
Got a little bit of distance. The Ultra Shock laser is actually big. The shield bow's not enough though. Scout will die. Okay, a little bit of revenge to that Sabertooth who cracked his teeth.
Something that Jordan was saying on the desk was, look, we need to see the super hot Xiaohu. Xiaohu has had some very high highs and some very low lows, especially earlier in the split. Xiaohu now has 4 kills. He has himself a significant gold lead still, even after the lost fight around that dragon. If he can keep making plays like this, dropping out of Fog of War, turning up and making big plays, maybe that's what Weibo needs.
Yeah, and he needs to stay away from tri brushes,
yes.
apparently. That is very important
the bane of any
However,
existence.
right here, Weibo Gaming, it looks like a much more competitive game. They're even in gold. However, LNG want to be even in gold the later the stages of the game go. This is what their composition wants. Ivern on 3 items keeps the whole team alive for so long. And Weibo Gaming rely on one wombo combo. If they survive this, LNG can fight back.
Yep. But one of the things about that wombo combo is that a lot of it is going to evolve the Lilia. There is a Mikhail's in for Weiwei now. That can stop part of that wombo coming through. The Ivern is starting to get into real kind of critical mass in a support sense, where you just can't get onto the carries you want to in the way that you want to. So, LNG, seeing big items coming in for them. They're looking towards stuff like Infinity Edge for the next item for their AD carries as well. The gold is good for Corki, not necessarily great for everyone else. The top lane matchup, which we were talking about, Breed doing well in the early game, even despite that solo kill, that's not really become a problem for LNG either. Actually, the Kasante is 1,000 gold ahead. That's a big thing for LNG.
Truly can be, and it's going to come down to a lot of the intricacies in these fights, and we still have a little while until that next dragon comes up.
I love the intricacies of pressing R.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. It's the timings about everything, all right?
You have to do it at the same time. It's very important.
It's a, you know, we're all on different PCs. It takes a little bit of setup, but LNG, they're setting up around mid lane. They realize there's a potential to open up on the light and crisp, but they want this outer tower first and foremost, and they use it really well to distract away.
And most importantly, using the curtain call to take Crisp down to 20% HP. You know, he's reset. Crisp is all your vision on this team of Weibo Gaming. He's the one that's moving forward, face checking for you, letting down that vision control. You've chunked him down, which means you get free reigns into that river with the Baron up to take Scuttle Crab and lay down all your vision control.
That's just another really good tower taking play from LNG. That has been their specialty as a team, if there's any bit of their gameplay from LNG. Get the Hex Gates being used to just walk across the map again. That could become very, very important. Scout, has he been spotted here? He has been. He has now.
He has. Yeah, I mean, he's in a lot of trouble. How have you found yourself on the wrong side of town here? We'll get the redemption heal and trying to get away now. Crisp in a little bit of trouble as well. LNG comes away on the other side. It will end up being Scout making out alive. Tarzan was circling on the other side as well.
My question is, why was Scout cosplaying as a Gromp?
I don't know, maybe he just likes frogs, man.
Maybe he does, you know what?
Who am I to judge?
Yeah, come on, don't judge his likes, his hobbies.
Hey,
maybe
if LNG are not going to fight, then Weibo Gaming are going to force them to.
That's a big purple frog right now they're trying to get, as that's the Baron going down about half health already. That's LNG looking to surround. They need to get some of these ultimates going. There's the TPs coming in, very hesitant are Weibo. Tarzan's already half health. They need to take the fight, breathe. He's looking for his entrance. He's looking for his big slicing maelstrom, but Zika is denying the side fight. He's gonna get a double knockback now. Scout moving forward as well. The rest of Weibo, they don't have any confidence to move forward. And LNG, they have all of it. 2 quick kills going the way of LNG. Now Zika trying to get away, does have the shield, he does have the healing, and LNG's comp is trying to fight back. Beautiful play there as he goes in. Hung secures it, and Weiwei will take down Light. And Tarzan's being run down by the rest, but this is an LNG map.
Oh, the top side of the map goes dark. Tarzan gets a kill back.
Okay, Tarzan a little bit quick to the pool, and now Xiaohu coming in with these rocket barrages. See if they can do anything. Tarzan feeling this is the need, but Scout stepping up to Xiaohu, and again, he has those Saber's teeth right in his pocket from earlier, and Tarzan's all by himself now. Zika not able to hit that Q3. Crisp is back, but he's already flashing away, and he's already turned into beef hamburgers now, and Weibo have been rebuffed.
Disaster for Weibo Gaming. That's the only word I can give right there. Again, so split on the map, and the most important thing, LNG marked that cannon so well. The fact that the entire teamfight had gone past and the exhaust had not been used says a lot.
Once again, Weibo just failing around the objective fights, which we thought would be much easier for them. They have that big team fight, but once again, LNG find a way to take these bits and pieces of the team fight, just pull them just a little bit out of position. I think Zucker has had an incredible series, an incredible game, and you know, for a team like LNG that are looking for a little bit of redemption from playoffs, especially looking for redemption from Worlds last year, having a player like Zucker on form like this, splitting apart the team fight and making sure the wombo never really happens the way that you want to is a great building block for them.
And we have Baron yet again. Weibo Gaming trying to force the trigger from LNG.
They just need to force something here. It's already getting low here, but they might actually lose Crisp for it. Maybe you just give it up for that, and the Baron is enough as Weibo finally take it down. It's the all-up for Zika. He's trying to kill Xiaohu now. He's all by himself. The redemption comes through. Oh my God, he's going to step back up. Xiaohu, where are you going? Where has you gone? Cotton Eye Joe's screaming somewhere overneath, but Zika, he will not get hit. Xiaohu steps forward and dies for it as Zika claims him now. It's Hung going in for the re-engage, but gets right back out. The bullet time coming across, though Hung is already gone. Big slicing maelstrom, and Breathe finally makes something happen, but will it be enough? LNG, still bodies on the table, but Baron to Weibo.
We finally get ourselves that 1,000,000-watt cannon ult to make a difference in this fight, but even then, LNG managed to fire back with a couple of kills. The Baron goes to Weibo. This is kind of a domino effect of LNG choosing the Dragon after that last fight, denying a soul point from Weibo. It did mean they were late on the reset for the Baron.
After the previous play, I just wanted to say, I need Breathe to be more daring with his teleports, and he hasn't been so far. He takes the easy, the safe route. That's not how you win these fights. Weibo Gaming with a desperation Baron play right here, trying to catch LNG onto the reset. Crisp giving his life away to delay LNG dipping into the river, and Zeka plays this so damn well. He wins so much time for his team to then pop up towards the top side of the map, and then Chaos. Shahu is on one side versus Zeka, loses that fight, the redemption coming through, Gala's made it into the scene.
Gets one back at least. Shahu is already going to be dead there, but at least he takes one back. Fight from here really is just about Hung not quite getting the kills in the place to want, and Breathe managing to get an unexpected ult completely over the wall. Fantastic ult from him finally.
I really hope we see more of this. We need Breathe with a lot more proactive ults, a lot more proactive teleports, because LNG is marking them well, and Tarzan...
We might actually get Weibo being a little bit in trouble here. Tarzan has already gone golden. You do have Daisy securing up the front line. Daisy will end up falling. It's the side lane, though, that Scout has been taking down. It's a tier 2 with a ton of standing gold going the way of LNG.
Now that's the problem with Ivern. If he spawns Daisy, that is 5 members on your screen and 1 on the side lane for LNG. LNG are ideally playing with 6 members on the rift.
6 scrubs.
And they can delay. Oh! The teleport actually just about got through, so Zeka can defend that one.
No, I was about to say, it felt like for a little while, it didn't feel like Weibo were the team with Baron, because they weren't pushing in well. But as soon as they reach those turrets, they melt through them like a hot knife through butter. Weibo have those 6 grubs, and you can see this was a little bit of a replay of what happened here. Zucker, really, really good play from this guy to just continually punish people. His Cassante play has been absolutely magnificent. We said, hey, maybe not the counter pick which you wanted. Not out.
He is the Rakan. He has a little bit of momentum going his way. Crisp really wanted him, but not going to end up finding anything there.
I feel like Weibo Gaming have fallen into the trap many times where they'll see Champion, try to engage Champion just for the sake of getting something going on the map. Saw that earlier yesterday with the BLG series. We're seeing it right now. You can all be just engaging onto the Cassante like this. You're going to be both blowing flashes, potentially losing members in the process as well.
And now we're getting to the point where we're getting towards real late game now. We're getting towards potential soul points, late game Barons. This has been a much better game from Weibo. This is still 2-0 from LNG. This could still very easily go towards LNG as well. And we could see Weibo in 2 days going 0-6 after playing a ridiculous amount of games over the last 2 weeks. They didn't get a good showing in that finals, not the one which they really wanted. And LNG, they have really struck now while the iron's hot.
And it just feels like some of that wind is shifting here. You had the first 2 Dragons, all that control on bot side for Weibo, but it's been 2 in a row for LNG, who now can put themselves on a soul point of that Hextech soul as well.
40 seconds until the next dragon, and there's 2 item spikes that I'm looking at. One has been completed, one hasn't. Moonstone for Ivern is a huge 3rd item. So much healing going through with the redemption, the shield through the Moonstone as well. And Death Cap for Breed. I think this item being completed here for Breed could make or break the game. He's pressing his B, he's resetting. Does he have the hat?
And does he have a position to make a difference in just the next minute of play? Dragon spawning in the next little while. Teleports available for Breathe, not for Xiaohu. Can he make the difference?
You'd think this was a setup for a soul, but it is just merely soul point. But all the pressure, all of it aligning here in mid lane. Weibo trying to get some poke down as much as possible. Tarzan looking for those angles of the swirl seat, but that will be the TP in from Breathe to join the team here. You do have the side lane. Crisp, you gotta get the engage. He headbutted Daisy. Now he might just go down here. Daisy's in the fight over there as well. Crisp is already gone. Weibo needs something to give. Weibo needs something to happen here. They need their wombo combo to come through, but there's no womboing. There's no comboing, and it's just a chillin' biting off the head of Weibo as Light tries to get one more bullet time, but it's a sad time indeed.
Absolute devastation for Weibo Gaming, 0-6, but LNG, what a redemption arc. They lost to Weibo Gaming. They got denied their advance through those playoffs all the way to finals, but now they're gonna claim their place.
LNG Weibo has gone the distance in each of the last 5 times they have met. Today, LNG have very confidently said the streak will be reset.
There is no room for improvement in this series for Weibo. This is looking like 6 devastating losses in a row. Their heads will be hang low, but no longer a silver dragon. Dragon Cup looming large over LNG. They have their eyes on one thing and one thing only as they rejoin the ranks of the World Elite. They gotta fight it through, and that is welcoming them to Worlds 2024 as they get the TP back in. They want the blood, they want the hurt, they want the tears of Weibo as they're gonna finish off Light one more time. It's traded back, Zika's finishing the job, and of course it's Zika who finishes it all.
LNG with the nail biter until the end. Is the last hit going to hit that damn Nexus that's been battered for the last 20 seconds? 3-0, what a statement series from LNG. We walked into this thinking that Weibo Gaming are gonna have it together, you know, just a bleep. 0-3, whatever, we learn, we make it better. We've beaten LNG before, wasn't the case today.
Gala and Scout back at Worlds. Some of the legends of our scene were fighting on the Rift today, and this time they'll be going as third seed without having Tarzan come with them in that same seed. Of course, Weibo will have another chance, the last gasp. They'll have to play in a couple of days' time against the winner of NIP and JDG, but today is about LNG.
Welcome your third seed from the LPL of 2024. Couldn't be more excited to see the growth, the level of play we saw from this team represented on that international stage, and some names that we know oh so well.
And it's such a happy victory for LNG, not only because they got a 3-0 and it was clean, they showed different playstyle right here. They did not rely on Scout to permanently be on a sideline, to permanently be taking structures. They did not rely on Scout's Yone or Scout's Azir to make the plays for them, to turn around the team fights. It was a very cohesive effort that looked so clean throughout all games.
And on the other side for Weibo, it has been it's been a journey that we know from this team. Yeah. This is not the first time things have gone like this for them. Last year, they made a World Finals, and if that's what you remember about that team, that's fantastic. Their regional splits were really back and forth. They bombed out in some moments. We had this motto for them, consistently inconsistent. And once again, they beat Top Esports. They knocked them out of playoffs right here as finals.
They beat LNG.
They beat LNG. And that was a fantastic accolade for them. They've just gone 0-6 in 2 series in 2 days. This team is on a nosedive.
But, I mean, an incredible run from LNG here to make sure that they are going to be at that international stage. And the fact that we've seen all these names before, and the fact that we're seeing a continuation of a lot of these legacies being written on this stage. It might not be the Silver Dragon Cup, but there's a bigger prize looming.
Oh, absolutely. And I feel like with them fighting through the regular, fighting through group ascent, showing how strong they were, we thought this could potentially be our second seed for them. And third seed is good enough. They can fight through that. However, they did show how they adapted through that last best of 5 series versus Weibo Gaming and what they've learned throughout the days of all the defeats that Weibo Gaming had suffered.
And now we get to see the start of a new leg of the journey for LNG, because last year at Worlds, they got obliterated by T1 in the quarterfinals. And that was when they had a 5-game finals against the JDG Super Team, which was absolutely incredible from last year. I don't think LNG really got to show what they wanted to last year. Now, there have been changes to the roster. Of course, Tarzan not on there as well. It's way now. But there is still that real aura of saying, we're coming for redemption. We're coming for something special at this Worlds that we couldn't manage last time.
And Weibo, they are not done. They will have another opportunity, but they got to find something that works for them. We're going to sit it over to the analyst desk to break that one down.
Congratulations once again to LNG for making it to Worlds as the 3rd seed of the LPL. What an interesting series. Well, game wasn't even a series, unfortunately. Oh, I'm so sad to see Weibo go down this way again.
It is.
But happy for LNG, of course.
Yep, it's unfortunate for Weibo. Congratulations to LNG again. People like Scout being able to make it back to that international stage.
Yes.
But again, I guess just to start off with the commiserations first, just like what a sad weekend for Weibo Gaming. At least they are not out just yet, but still, losing that. How did you call it earlier, Jamada? The guardian angel.
Yeah,
it's sad to see.
Yeah, I mean, look again, very tough play against Weibo, get 3-0'd. Come here today. A lot of the similar issues bleeding into this series as well. Individual positioning mistakes, objective setups just not quite on par with their opponent. And yeah, you know, look, now at the very least, you get a day to relax, mentally reset, watch the NIP JDG series, right? Yeah. Scout out who you're going to be playing against, and hopefully have slightly more solid prep, and maybe your discipline is feeling a little bit stronger with that little bit of a break from playing on the stage.
If at the end of the day, Weibo Gaming ends up making it, you know, maybe they're even going to be more unstoppable because they went through so much stuff this week. I don't know. Huh? You never know. Either way, guys, I do notice that you have a drawing board over there, so I'm really curious what's going on here. Are you going to explain what we just witnessed to me? Like I'm 5?
I mean, we could.
Please do. Draw me the picture.
Right, so, this is your side. This is my side. We're gonna draw a picture of what you guys just saw. I'm gonna
Can you guys draw on the other side so people can see what you're doing?
No one.
No one's supposed to
until
see.
The very end.
Well, I guess we're gonna be spending some time together here, guys. My great analysis that I'm sure I can bring it up. Let's take a look. Should I cast over what you guys are drawing?
No,
actually?
not yet.
No, not yet.
If you want to come over.
I'm just curious. I just want to scooch over and see what's going on.
I'm already all good.
You
But
guys don't want to see that.
again, kind of. You know, we focused a lot on Weibo.
Yes.
But this is all about celebrating
Yes.
LNG.
Do
also
tell.
about celebrating, you know, we could say the earth, the forest. You know, Jamada, you got to hurry up because, you know, Mr.
Yeah, Jamada,
Machine
your
saying
timer is
that-
almost out. People want to
Done.
see what you came up with.
Let's see if this actually even shows correctly. I'll start first. LNG, I was talking to Munch. You know, Ivern's known as the father of green. LNG kind of Weibo's father in this series, if we have to be honest. Weibo, they also do have alternate jerseys that are green. So,
Well, you guys as artists are
he has to-
really,
he has to
really
explain it.
fantastic analysts.
Mine is very literal and very simple. Weibo, arrow, not frauds.
Yes. Not frauds.
They were just DP today.
They were just
and,
DP.
you know, again, I think that little bit of extra rest, they'll start feeling good about themselves.
Yeah.
again.
I think this explanation is great, but maybe we need a little bit more context. We do have the breakdown of the game coming up, and I look forward to understanding, you know, a little bit more of the nitty-gritty because this was
again, kind
interesting.
of coming into this game, I feel like one of the most interesting things was that Ivern, because Weibo have been a team that have been banning it consistently since the last time they played LNG, when LNG brought it out and when LNG were able to find a win with the champion. So I'm glad to see Weiwei going back to the pick. He's been one of the long-time Ivern players that we've had in the LPL. And honestly, looking at this series, LNG just did such a great job of really poking holes in the Weibo laning phases from early on, Jamada.
Yeah, I just think the kind of state that Weibo are in right now, they really had to find, you know, a bastion of safety. It's why I called for, you know, more agency in game number 2. It's why I called maybe after it didn't work to go, all right, you know what? We've tried top, we've tried, well, and bot at the same time. Let's try and give something to Tarzan, right? And they did through the Lilia pick, but again, you know, whilst it looked strong in its pockets, as Lilia just tends to anyway, they couldn't find anything consistently to actually play towards in this series. And again, I think when you just take a look at how every game unfolded around those objectives for LNG, gold was always being funneled into like one guy, like very, very consistently, and they were doing a great job at executing, playing around that strong point of their comp.
Especially in this game, right? And in this series overall, finally we got to see that one guy be Gala. Gala be able to get some resources. LNG playing team fights well and setting up Gala for success. Again, Weibo giving some opportunities, but it's just nice to see when it feels like if you looked at this season overall, Gala was the best and most consistent player on this team. That he was able to, once again, kind of step up and the rest of LNG really allow him to be the leader and allow him to be that huge damage dealer.
Yes, absolutely. I'm interested though. You guys did mention that Weibo was lacking quite a lot of agency. It did seem like they managed to pick things back up, but now looking at how things went, do you guys actually have, I don't know, anything to say about maybe how, I don't know, how they could have stepped it up specifically in this game?
Right, early game, very tragic for the side of Weibo. Great by LNG. It starts to come back when LNG actually overcommit to a fight. Weibo start to find some ways back in. Compositionally, I think actually Weibo look pretty solid. You have a lot of ways to find that first, even if it is a bit annoying against an Ivern and a Rakan, but a lot of individual mistakes and a lot of good like TP plays, multi-man roams to punish people like Xiao who find those picks and really be able to bring it across the finish line.
Yeah, and I really do want to point out, like, for Weibo, their core strengths were closing out games, right? So I've been calling for them to find stronger compositions to play off the early game because typically they're very clinical around closing out. You could see it in moments in this game when once the state of the game started to become a little bit more even, like the fights didn't look horrible if the setup wasn't
Yeah.
bad, right? And I think again, that's why I think losing here into LNG, like it feels bad. Don't get me wrong, losing the GA feels bad, but there's still a lot of tangibles to take out of. Okay, you know, we now know that we can't skip steps. Like we suck at adapting. If we skip a step and somebody messes up and somebody gets caught out, we don't actually seem to have a solution or a formula to kind of bailing ourselves out of that position.
But speaking of adapting for the LNG side, right, what a change coming into today, right? They played different styles of compositions. We saw them lean into what we knew of LNG, especially in Game 2. We saw them lean into more LNG drafts in Game 3. Game 1, though, complete change of pace. And it's something that makes me have a lot of confidence in LNG going forward, which is not something I had coming into today, knowing that they can be so flexible.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny because I think in the build up to Game 3, you recalled LNG as like kind of the Korean style of LPL team. And a lot of last year was very similar. They had a lot of the same pieces, right? So they lost that identity throughout a majority of this year. Gala coming back, weirdly, it never seems to be an AD that makes this kind of tonal shift to an entire team, but it seems to have been the case that now that they've actually had him on board for a while and LNG are a lot more comfortable as a unit, that again, playing this kind of by the books, on occasion boring to watch, yes, but like League of Legends,
today, at least.
not today at least, like
to
today
get
was
to the
fun.
win.
It's very hard to deal with if you're not a team that can create chaos, and again, so very surprised to not see Weibo be able to create that chaos, because normally it's kind of what they're specialists in.
I think it's interesting that you bring up that they have a more Korean style of playing, because we are now heading towards the international stage and we're going to be seeing all these regions face against each other. Maybe this is something that could eventually give them a leg up, hopefully. But we don't know any of that yet. I do want to say, which player do you guys think was the best performing in these series? Or rather, this game. I don't know why I just said that.
The series is very much like, actually not even very much
Actually,
like
not really a
because,
series.
you know, Knight yesterday kind of was that standout with the solo kills. Today, I mean, we saw different people step out, right? Like, we think of Game 2, we see Zuka having that huge performance. Game 1, you're thinking of Gala on the Ashe. This last game definitely was a lot more of like a team performance rather than just one individual really taking over the game. Which, again, that is why after this series, I have a lot more confidence in LNG.
Yeah, and that's kind of another thing with LNG, especially when you see teams kind of shift rosters around this, what they had to do after spring of last year, and they've kind of half been doing since. You know, it tends to be one or two individuals that stand up and like do it consistently, and then the others kind of clamber around. That's where their performance starts to pick up. But it feels like for LNG, they're way past that stage for one. And like Lyric was alluding to, it's kind of a team effort. Like, sure, people still have pop-off games. Gala basically didn't miss an hour in Game 1, right? With the Ashe ults. But again, I think the fact that this team is so solid as a unit, as long as they can clean up, you know, the basically dotting I's, crossing T's of some of their plays, these guys moving into Worlds, genuine threat. And I think, you know, the only team I'll be over the top worried about is, you know, teams out of the LCK like Gen G who play the exact same similar style. We've been calling LNG the Korean LPL team for a reason, to such a high standard that you can't play standard into Gen G, right? Team like Gen G is very difficult to do. Hong, though, speaking of, you know, individuals stepping up, definitely this Game 3 on the record.
And he was like, God, he was just teasing Weibo in this game. There were so many times where, I mean, Weibo fell for the trap, though. You should kind of know that, like, the Rakan is so mobile, but he just found so many opportunities to get in their face. A lot of great jobs on dodging some of the engages coming out from Crisp. And I think coming into the series, and LNG overall, Hung, I think, was the player that most people would be skeptical on of this lineup of like, hey, he's never been about the dominant laning phases. Back in the day, it was about those crazy engages coming out of nowhere. Exactly. He would just keep going at people like Cajal, just losing their minds, reacting to just how bloodthirsty Hung was. That was very much tempered down this year. But again, it seems like he's starting to find his groove and his role in this team to really step up and be another primary engage for LNG, because it feels like that's what they were lacking for a lot of the season and why they had to rely on Scout-Sione as a clutch to find a lot of picks, start off fights, play around side lanes, and so on.
Yeah, that's a beautiful point. I think the only thing that LNG really did struggle with was finding engages consistently. Like you said, the crutch for a while was just chucking Scout on Yone and kind of just saying, hey man, here Godar and pray.
And it worked a lot of the time.
It did work a lot of the time, and Hung would be the follow-up to that, right? But it seems like they've developed, you know, Hong individually, but also as a team now to kind of understand, okay, we can trust Hong to not grief on his primary and initial engages. And again, this was another fantastic game where they've been able to do that.
We do love to see a confident support. And now taking a look at what is left of our week, well, we still have 2 matches due, and tomorrow we're going to have NIP versus JDG, and then we're going to have Weibo versus whoever wins against them. Yes, perfect. Guys, how are we feeling about how the bracket has developed so far? Does this look right to you?
Yep. We don't have it updated quite yet. LNG, of course, are going as our 3rd seed. But yeah, you know, it wasn't my initial prediction coming in, but that was, again, without real, like, thinking about, hey, Weibo playing back-to-back days. All of these teams, I think, especially if one's at their ceiling or if a team's having a bad day, they could all beat each other in series, right? You're looking at any of these 4 teams that aren't BLG and I guess top esports over the side, and it should be close. So tomorrow's especially going to be really interesting of like, hey, does JDG find their form again? They lost to NIP last time. NIP were winless in the Rumble stage of the LPL. Or can they step up with people like Rookie, of course? A lot of people, Jamada, you being maybe at the forefront, cheering him on.
That's my goat.
Finally make it.
That's my goat. I need Rookie back and international.
I am curious though. Now Weibo is going to have to prepare for potentially, well, not potentially, for 2 teams, right? How do you think that that's going to go for them? What are the core differences between NIP and JDG, and how do you think they could potentially play against Weibo?
I mean, from experience, I mean, with the kind of staff that I imagine JDG and NIP have, it's not going to be or rather that Weibo have, it shouldn't be a big deal. I think whilst NIP and JDG are stylistically 2 very different teams, I think JDG, again, normally kind of a similar-ish in style to LNG, where it's like they like to play very standard League of Legends, like mid-prio into bot, right? Mid-jungle, like strong 2v2 into bot. I think on the other side for NIP, it's like, cool, we have our weird and kooky picks, right? Shanji likes to whip out all of these goofy like 1v1 champs. So I think it's more about, like, to me, specialist kind of understanding of, okay, Shanji might bring out Shyvana, Shanji might bring out Mordekaiser or something really weird up in the top side, and it's, okay, Breathe, do you have stuff prepped for this? And that's going to be a majority of the prep in terms of team by team for Weibo. So I don't think it's going to stress them out too much, plus being able to watch that series is the right. So
there. And even like JDG were a team who played, you know what to expect from JDG at their best. It's all about Kanavi. It's all about his crazy pathing, his crazy level 1. And for NIP, right, all about Rookie. So I think what Weibo should focus on is more of looking at what went wrong today and yesterday and think of, like, you have to more of prep for yourself, you know? Put yourself in the shoes of JDG and NIP and like, hey, what have they learned? Because we've played a lot more games than they have.
Well, let's see how this is all going to play out. For now, it's still congratulations to LNG for making 3rd seed of the LPL. And, well, I guess we'll be catching you tomorrow morning bright and early. Come with us. Nymera's going to join us for the desk, and it's going to be all exciting. So I'll see you guys tomorrow, and have a great day.
I need to see.
Well, we're getting into game 1 now. The deciding of the fate on who will be our 3rd seed for the LPL starts now. Getting away now. Weibo's in trouble here. We might get first blood going over, and it's of course gonna go to Weibo.
Hold on now.
Oh, bang! Look at the support action coming through, and of course Chris picks it up too in the end.
Rob fights Tarzan.
They're going over the wall. That's a huge play from Hong, and they just completely dogpile Tarzan. Has 3 kills already on that Sharo. See if they want to try to make a play up here. They are positioning for it and perfectly hit onto Xiaohu. He has to stand and watch as his life is taken from him. They're going to see if they can add some more fuel to the fire. Gala is Robin Hood again. It's the moment of glory. We have Breathe on the flank. Baby's trying to make his own Zika play. There's Chris separating out. This is looking good for LNG, but Mom maybe making the difference. Look at this, though. Weibo, they've got him flanked again. He's back, and it's for episode 2 as LNG are wiping the floor with them. Give him the penta. No, it's a quadra kill for Scout. And LNG series they had against Weibo, and they'll take that step forward in here. Every Weibo has its day.
It has level 6, level 5. He goes for
Oh,
this.
he wants it, and that's a little bitty gnar. He's gonna get that flash with the slice and dice. He's gonna get the trade. It's a 1v1 in top side behind them, and Crisp is gonna have to burn the flash, but the flash instantly returned. LNG, they are coming here, and they are taking everything. Zika about to go Mega Gnar. He's getting a little bit low, though. A little bit of damage back and forth. Zika's still alive. There's the curtain call. Maybe it makes the difference. Scout sticking in there, but he'll die to light, who has finally shown up. LNG, they'll get one right back on the Tarzan. Wait, so that'll be soul point for LNG, and a nice grand entrance, rebuffed as well. Wei going forward. He's looking for a Bramble Smash. It does go the other way, but already Tarzan's down, and Zika, he has made his name known. He is not Mini anymore. That man is Mega! This is a game, too, that we did not expect to go a 2-0 start in this best of 5 for LNG. It has always been contested. It has always been back and forth. But for 5 games in a row, Weibo has been shooting blanks, and LNG are on match point. Get into game 3. Let's hear those Dios roar.
Force will definitely hurt.
Yeah, they want to try to get the engage there. I love that Crisp is trying to set it up, but Crisp getting low. There's the deadly flare landing on Tarzan. Crisp is the primary target. Gala wants him so bad he flashes for it. First blood to LNG. Now it's Weibo being surrounded here. Light is trying to get those love taps in. No way. Oh, breathe. This cannot happen, man. He's gonna get the flash out too. Zika kills him. Can get an open up here, and they're gonna get the lightning crash too. Light is not being blocked for Crisp. You have to save him. The headbutt comes through. Crisp is about to go down as well. Hung is still alive, and a double kill for Scouts.
Playing that as Gala caught out.
It's just the Jin, and Xiao will get another one.
Look on their front line.
I love how reserved that Weibo are, but now they're just getting pounced on. Xiao, who's gone? His saber teeth.
Look on their front line.
I love how reserved that Weibo are, but now they're just getting pounced on. Xiao, who's gone? His saber teeth have been cracked in half by LNG. Weibo, they don't have any confidence to move forward, and with LNG, they have all of it. 2 quick kills going the way of LNG. Bernice, but Zika, he will not get hit. Xiao, who steps forward and dies for it. Bullet time coming across, though. Hung is already gone. Big, gone. Big, slicing Maelstrom. Needs something to happen here. They need their wombo combo to come through, but there's no womboing. There's no comboing, and it's just a chillin', biting off the head of Weibo as Light tries to get one more bullet time, but it's a sad time indeed. This is looking like 6 devastating losses in a row. Their heads will be hang low, but no longer a Silver Dragon Cup looming large over LNG. They have their eyes on one thing and one thing only as they rejoin the ranks of the World Elite. They gotta fight it through, and that is welcoming them to Worlds 2024.
涙よ星に瞬きを伝えて守るものがあるからきっと強くなれる語るべき言葉なくした星の守りでは時の果て夢の果て闇に立ちすくんだ風を呼んでみたんだ空に向けて誰かを呼んでみたんだ光求めたソリチュードかすかなレゾナンス確かに届くロマンスそんな流れ星たちを抱き留めた明日が見えなくたって乗り越えなくちゃって奇跡の奇跡描き未来へつなぐ Growing High 心のフォトンが銀河にこぼれて道を強く照らす Burning Bright それぞれの思い秘めた星の守り手は空からの呼ぶ声に導かれた重ねる手と手には言葉なんかより伝わることが かなレゾナンス見つける